Chapter 1136. Naga Shuang desperately used an energy shield to cover it, but she still could not stop the crazy energy overflowing from the Demon King's Sea of Qi. The energy in the Demon King's Sea of Qi was extremely shocking. After the explosion, even if Yang Dingtian retreated tens of thousands of meters, he was still blown away. And within 1,000 miles, the concentration of internal force suddenly increased by more than 1,000 times. Naga Shuang, like the biggest miser, first used a 10,000-meter energy shield to cover it. Then she quickly drilled into the energy shield, desperately devouring the dissipated internal force energy inside. This scene reminded Yang Dingtian of the drunkard accidentally smashing the jar, and the wine flowed all over the ground. The drunkard did not care how dirty the ground was, and immediately lay down to lick the flowing wine. In fact, the Demon King's astonishing Sea of Qi had already lost most of its energy at the moment of explosion. Even if Naga Shuang devoured all the internal force in the energy shield now, it would not be able to compare to 1/10 of the amount he devoured in the core of the Naga Empire ruins. After devouring crazily and greedily for a while, Naga realized that this kind of devouring was useless, and only made her look ugly. She suddenly turned into her human form, rushed in front of Yang Dingtian, and hissed, "Why did you kill him? Why did you kill him? Didn't you hear what I said?" Yang Dingtian stared at her, and did not answer her. Instead, he asked Vulture next to him, "Where is the Sea Snake Empress?" Vulture said with a sad expression, "Her energy had already dissipated. I resurrected too late, but I could still barely condense an incomplete and weak soul energy. But then, the Demon King's Sea of Qi exploded, and she was completely annihilated." Yang Dingtian's heart trembled. In other words, the Sea Snake Empress was dead? Poisa's mother died just like that. She had just been resurrected not long ago, and she died in battle for Yang Dingtian? Although their relationship was not very close, Yang Dingtian still felt a heart-wrenching pain. Such a peerless expert, who did not owe Yang Dingtian anything, died just like that. Why did she die? Firstly, it was because of Yang Dingtian. She had died to help Yang Dingtian. Secondly, it was because of Naga. If not for Naga forgetting righteousness at the sight of Prophet and successfully destroying the Demon King's Primal Chaos Emperor armor, and Yang Dingtian directly using the Dark Mystic Fire Soul Sword to kill the Demon King, nothing would have happened. The Sea Snake Empress would not die either. After Naga Shuang obtained the other half of the evil spirit from the Demon King, she was so elated that she forgot everything. No one knew if it was on purpose or if it was too high, but it disappeared without a trace. She threw Yang Dingtian to the Demon King. It could be said that if not for the Sea Snake Empress's help, Yang Dingtian would have been finished and become a walking corpse. If not for Yang Dingtian possessing the Primal Chaos Emperor Grade Soul Sword, if not for Yang Dingtian possessing the Dark Mystic Fire Sword Soul, he would have been finished. The Sea Snake Empress only owed Yang Dingtian kindness and did not owe him anything. However, she died. In an instant, Yang Dingtian wanted to vent all his anger and hatred on Naga Shuang. If not for her greed and the Demon King's deal, if not for her disappearing without a trace at the critical moment, how could the Sea Snake Empress die? How was he going to explain this to Poisa? Although Poisa pretended to be calm, it was obvious that the appearance of the Sea Snake Empress made her very happy. It meant that she had a mother from now on. It was all because of Duga Shuanger, this greedy animal, that the Sea Snake Empress died. Yang Dingtian looked at Naga as if he wanted to devour her. At this moment, Naga also rushed over in anger and questioned Yang Dingtian. Why did you kill the Demon King?" Yang Dingtian said coldly. "If I don't kill him, am I going to wait for him to extract my soul and turn me into a walking corpse? Great Naga, Duga Shuanger?" Yang Dingtian had never spoken to Duga Shuanger in such a tone. Never. Naga's greed and anger towards energy calmed down all of a sudden. "What do you mean?" Naga Shuang said slowly. Yang Dingtian. "It means literally. If I didn't kill the Demon King, I would have become a walking corpse long ago. Of course, this is a good result for you. The Demon King can possess me and then fly away with you. As soon as he said this, the lower half of Naga Shuang's body suddenly turned into a snake's tail and fiercely whipped the ground. She jumped up and hissed, Yang Dingtian, what do you mean by that? Yang Dingtian, isn't that so? The Demon King proposed a deal. Aren't you willing to accept it? Naga Shuang hissed. Nonsense, you're talking nonsense. I was just tricking him to hand over the primordial evil spirit. Yang Dingtian. And then? After you devoured the primordial evil spirit, you flew away without a trace. Didn't you give me to the Demon King and let him destroy my soul and turn me into a walking corpse? Naga Shuang screamed. I just lost my mind. The two primordial evil spirits merged into one. The energy was too great and temporarily destroyed my mind. Yang Dingtian. Then when you took back the primordial evil spirit, you could have immediately turned hostile and destroyed the Demon King's Chaos Emperor armor. Then I would have killed him. Not only did you not do that, but you also disappeared without a trace. When I killed him, you came to question me? From that point of view, you were already standing with him. Naga Shuang said angrily. I did it for you. For me? Yang Dingtian. I didn't see it at all. Naga Shuang said. Of course I did it for you. He kept saying that he wanted to possess you. Why can't you take away all his cultivation? We can strip the Demon King's second-class evil spirit, then completely destroy his soul and turn him into a walking corpse. Then, in the Empire of Darkness, we can use the refining and fusion arrays to merge you and the Demon King's body into one. In this way, you will have the Chaos Emperor armor and all of the Demon King's cultivation. At this point, Naga Shuang trembled with excitement. At that time, your cultivation will not be inferior to mine. We will go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire and become an eternal team. We will devour the energy of the old Naga Empire together and break through to the demigod realm. At that time, the two of us will be the Naga Empire. We will pass down the demigod civilization forever and become the masters of the entire chaos world. Yang Dingtian was surprised. Naga Shuang's plan seemed to be feasible purely in theory. In this way, after stripping the Demon King's second-class evil spirit and destroying his soul, they would not destroy his Chaos Emperor armor and let Yang Dingtian have all of his cultivation. Yang Dingtian felt dizzy. This was a cultivation close to the demigod realm. In terms of cultivation level, it was even higher than Naga Shuang's. Anyone would be tempted. Even Vulture was tempted. If her husband broke through to the demigod realm, she would be able to rise as well. Yang Dingtian's dizziness only lasted for a short time. He quickly calmed down. Yang Dingtian said slowly, The Demon King's cultivation level is even higher than yours. How are you going to destroy his soul? Moreover, his second-class evil spirit came from Dongli, but Dongli is long dead. His first-class evil spirit also dissipated in the abyss. How are you going to strip the second-class evil spirit from the Demon King's body? Naga Shuang's face twitched. She said stubbornly, Time. As long as you give me time, I can do it. Yang Dingtian said, Good. Let's talk about the situation just now. After devouring the evil spirit, you didn't immediately disappear without a trace. At that time, the Demon King proposed to destroy my soul and take over my body. What would you do? Naga Shuang said. Of course, I would stop him. Yang Dingtian said. Then, you would fall out with the Demon King and continue to fight? Naga Shuang shook her head. No, I would take you away. Yang Dingtian said. In other words, you would let the Demon King go. Then, you would let him wreak havoc in the human kingdoms, let him open the door to the human kingdoms, and let the Demon Fox army completely submerge and destroy the human kingdoms. Let the Demon King capture all my wives and children? Naga Shuang was silent, indicating that she agreed. Yang Dingtian said word by word, Those are my wives, my children. Naga Shuang was still silent. She just looked at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian said word by word again. At that time, they will be captured, tortured, or even killed. There might even be your beloved Dabao, Yang Li. Naga Shuang was still silent. Say something. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Even so, are you still going to let the Demon King go? Naga Shuang's beautiful face twitched slightly. Her beautiful eyes flashed with dignity and anger. She said, So what? What do these people have to do with me? Although Yang Dingtian was mentally prepared, he was still shocked by these words. Then, he said in disbelief, They are my family, my children? Yes, what do they have to do with me? Naga Shuang said, I'm just related to you. Do you want me to drag any Tom, Dick, or Harry into this? Moreover, I want to help you break through the demigod realm and become the master of this world. What can't these dust, branches, and leaves be abandoned? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian stopped talking. He was completely speechless. Because the worldviews of the two sides were completely different. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian said, Duga Shuanger, so your plan is to first trick the Demon King into giving up the original evil spirit. Then you will let him go. When you can strip his second-class evil spirit, when your cultivation can suppress it, you will deal with him? Destroy his soul and let me take over his demigod cultivation, right? Yes. Naga Shuang said. Everything I do is for you. Yang Dingtian said. What if you can't strip his second-class evil spirit? Naga Shuang said. Impossible. When I break through the demigod realm, I can do anything. Yang Dingtian said. There are still a few decades before you break through the demigod realm. You're a force-type Naga, you'll definitely be in heat if you can't get it. If you don't copulate, you will cause great harm. Can you wait until the day you become a demigod? Naga Shuang said coldly. What are you trying to say? Yang Dingtian said. Now you can say that you let go of the Demon King for me. But you are getting closer and closer to the time when you go into heat. When you can't bear the great harm, you still haven't found a way to strip the second-class evil spirit and destroy the Demon King's soul. At that time, you will follow the Demon King's plan. Choose the easy way. Destroy my soul and turn me into a walking corpse. Then the Demon King will take over my body, have sex with you, and fly away together. That will be the best of both worlds. Then Yang Dingtian said word by word. So, your plan is not for me at all. It is to stall for time so that you can feel at ease and righteous. Wait for the balance of energy in your heart to exceed the balance of feelings. I didn't. Naga suddenly roared. Her beautiful face suddenly changed. Naga's ferocious face directly appeared, and then changed back to the beautiful face of a human. Then Naga calmed herself down and said, Husband, I really didn't think so. I stopped attacking the Demon King really for you. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, No, maybe your thoughts at that time and now don't think so. But in the depths of your soul, you have already made such preparations. So, after devouring the primordial evil spirit, you lost your mind and flew away without a trace. That in itself is a kind of seeking release, letting reality decide everything. On the surface, you have lost all reason. But in reality, you want to create an established fact, let the Demon King destroy my soul and take over my body. Then, you will have no choice but to accept. I didn't. Naga Shuang roared and hissed. You are slandering me, slandering me. In her fury, Naga suddenly transformed into a huge Naga hundreds of meters long. Then, she suddenly opened her mouth and was about to bite Yang Dingtian in half. Of course, she didn't bite down. Then, she gradually changed back to the human appearance of Duga Shuanger. She first closed her beautiful eyes and calmed herself down. When she opened them again, her beautiful face had already become ice cold. She said word by word, Husband, I will still call you that. First, don't put a groundless accusation on my head. Second, between you and me, you don't have any moral advantage. Don't forget, you can't destroy the Demon King, you can't stop the Demon King's invasion. So, let me help you. I don't owe you anything. I can come because of my feelings for you. I love you, so I came to help you, but I don't owe you. So, no matter what decision I make, it's my own business. At this moment, Naga Shuang said these words as if she had matured by many years. Naga Shuang said, It's true that I love you. However, You don't have the right to criticize me or order me because of this. You have your position, and I have my pursuit. Second, I know that you blamed the death of the Sea Snake Empress on me. I can only say one thing about this. Don't use your own incompetence as evidence to blame me. She died for you, not for me. You have the responsibility to save her, I don't. Word by word, clear and cold, the logic concise to the extreme. Chapter 1137. Hearing Naga Shuang's cold words, Yang Dingtian gradually woke up from his extreme anger. Putting aside all emotional factors, Naga Shuang was right. Of course, Naga Shuang was part of the reason for the death of the Sea Snake Empress, but in the end, it was still his fault. She died for him. Also, what did Naga Shuang owe Yang Dingtian? Yang Dingtian had indeed protected her and taken care of her. However, Naga Shuang had saved Yang Dingtian once when he was in the Empire of Darkness. Even though that time had also allowed her to undergo the most critical transformation. However, if Naga Shuang had not snatched away the primordial evil spirit at the critical moment, Yang Dingtian would have been possessed by the Demon King. And this time, Yang Dingtian had traveled hundreds of thousands of miles to the ruins of the old Naga Empire to find Naga Shuang to help him deal with the Demon King. She was playing the role of a savior. Although these words sounded cold, they were reasonable. Naga Shuang had no obligation to help Yang Dingtian. What she did was her own freedom. For many things, once emotions were torn apart, they would become completely cold. This was the same logic. Then, let's not talk about feelings at all. Only talk about benefits, not feelings. Yang Dingtian, who had gradually calmed down, closed his eyes and restrained the anger inside. When he opened his eyes again, he had calmed down and said, "Shuang, you're right. I have no right to criticize you. The death of the Sea Snake Empress is my responsibility, not yours." Then Yang Dingtian said, "This time, I still have to thank you for successfully eliminating the Demon King. Without you, I would have been destroyed by the Demon King long ago." Naga Shuang's beautiful face twitched slightly, but she did not say anything. Yang Dingtian said, "Please wait for a day or two. I will send you back to the ruins of the old Naga Empire as soon as possible to continue cultivating." Naga Shuang remained cold and silent. Yang Dingtian asked, "Vulture, where is the Demon King's soul?" After the Demon King's body turned into ashes, his soul was still frantically escaping under the protection of the primordial evil spirit. However, how could he escape? Vulture could even control the elements and energy, let alone the soul. Moreover, at this moment, both Soul and Wentian's soul had lost all their cultivation. How could they escape from Vulture's spiritual domain? "I've locked it," said Vulture. The spirit Vulture's mind stirred, and immediately, a burst of light and shadow flew over. Several souls' soul was a soul was Soul's. There was Earth's, Wentian's, Chaos World's, and Suyan's. And the strange thing was that these three souls were completely wrapped in one soul. And this soul was Shimin Wuya's. He was indeed powerful. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the Oriole behind. As expected, he had completely gained control of the Demon King's body. Although the other three souls were still there, they were completely wrapped by him. It turned out that the so-called battle of the soul and the battle of the brain was like this. Not only did it have to occupy the largest area of the brain, but it also had to completely wrap the other party's soul and devour it. Seeing Yang Dingtian again, Shimin Wuya's soul immediately opened his mouth and was about to speak. Yang Dingtian waved his hand and said, "I don't want to hear him speak. Just destroy it." Vulture moved his mind, and Shimin Wuya's Demon King's soul immediately flew toward the border of the abyss like lightning. He screamed and screamed with all his might. However, he was completely blocked and could not make a sound. Whoosh! Soon, Vulture controlled the Demon King's soul and arrived at the bottom of the abyss's border. Without any buffer, he was directly thrown into the abyss's border. Wentian, Suyan, Shimin Wuya, and the other souls opened their mouths and let out a silent hiss. Then, at the border of the abyss, they turned into ashes inch by inch. They completely disappeared without a trace. From then on, there was no real demon king in this world. And Shimen Wuya, who was almost the final victor, also completely died and turned into ashes when he was at his proudest and most glorious moment. It didn't matter how much patience he had, or how much perseverance he had, it had all been destroyed. The mission this time was over. The Demon King was completely destroyed. Yang Dingtian looked in the direction of the dark crack. It had long disappeared. Yang Dingtian wanted to feel the air again to see if there was the aura of the Sea Snake Empress, but it was completely gone. There was only the aura of the dark domain. Of course, there was also a high concentration of Xianqi. The explosion of the Demon King's energy reserve caused the concentration of the entire first dark domain to increase by several times. "Husband, I'm sorry. I couldn't save the Sea Snake Empress?" Vulture stepped forward and whispered. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "No, you're very amazing. She died because of me." Then Yang Dingtian said, "Let's go back." Then, Yang Dingtian, Vulture, and Naga Shuang silently flew towards the human countries. From the border of the first abyss, they entered the world of ice and snow. Then, they flew back to Cloud Sky City. This time, Naga Durga Shuang followed them to Cloud Sky City. At this moment, everyone in Cloud Sky City was already waiting. Jia, the Demon Fox High Priest, all the surviving elders of the Silver Dragon Temple, all the higher-ups of the Council of Light, and Queen Poisa. Of course, there was also Yang Dingtian's wife and children. There was also his mother-in-law, Yang Peipei, his master, Dongfang Minmi, and everyone else. Seeing Yang Dingtian return, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. This at least proved that Yang Dingtian was fine. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and said, "The Demon King is dead!" As soon as he said this, countless people cheered. The Demon King was dead. The greatest crisis had been resolved. It could even be said that the war in the human countries had completely ended. The calamity of the human countries would not come again. The human countries were saved. Yang Dingtian came in front of Poisa and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry. The Sea Snake Empress died to save me." Instantly, Poisa's delicate body trembled. She was at a loss for what to do. She didn't know what expression to use to welcome this news. She definitely wouldn't cry. She had always appeared cold and lonely, but her heart was pure and full of dependence in a certain aspect. After a long while, Poisa revealed a slightly sad smile and said, "As long as you're fine, it's fine." Yang Dingtian hesitated for a while and said, "When I go to the Little Western Paradise, I will try my best to find Hai Xian and bring her here." Originally, Hai Xian was bound to die. However, now that the Sea Snake Empress was dead, her greatest wish was to revive the people of the Sea Serpent Empire and not let the Sea Serpent Empire be completely destroyed. And Hai Xian was also her daughter. Now, Yang Dingtian could no longer bear to kill Hai Xian. Poisa nodded. Then, Yang Dingtian came in front of Yan Yan. Her delicate face was filled with infinite joy as she said, "Husband, from now on, we can stay at home. We don't have to run around and hide anymore, right?" Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Yes." Then, his gaze fell on Yang Yichen's face and said, "Of course, in the future, Yang Yichen will have the final say in Cloud Sky City. We need his permission to live here." Instantly, Yang Yichen was so embarrassed that his face turned red and he couldn't speak. He couldn't wait for his family to be together forever. Then Yan Yan suddenly said, "Husband, what's wrong?" "I'm fine," Yang Dingtian said in surprise. Yan Yan said, "I feel that your smile is a little forced." Yang Dingtian said, "The biggest opponent in your life has been eliminated. Of course, you'll feel lost." "I see," Yan Yan said. "In the future, you can stay at home and accompany us more." "Sigh, if father could see us like this, how good would that be?" "Yes." Yang Dingtian didn't stop and said, "Father-in-law would be happy even if he saw this scene from heaven." At night, the entire Cloud Sky City was truly immersed in a carnival. Naga Shuang definitely wouldn't participate. She directly returned to the cave in Cloud Sky City that she had taken shelter in. He was proud and lonely. After drinking a lot of wine, Yang Dingtian saw Vulture playing with Yen Yen, Wu Maji, and the others. She was always like this, forming cliques and trying her best to raise her status. When she saw Yang Dingtian looking over, she nodded like a spoiled child. Yang Dingtian understood what she meant. She wouldn't say it. He would treat the matter of Shimin Wuya as an eternal secret. Yang Dingtian took the porcelain wine bottle and walked out. His master, Dongfang Minmi, also followed. The two of them floated lightly and arrived at the highest point of the castle. Yang Dingtian asked, "Master, who was the one who attacked you, destroyed your cultivation, and locked you up in this world of ice and snow? Do you still remember?" Dongfang Minmi took a sip of wine and said, "I have a slight impression, but I can't remember clearly." Then Dongfang Minmi said, "But this isn't important anymore, right?" Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "Yes, it's not important. Everything is in the past." Dongfang Minmi said, "Then I'll go back and continue drinking." Yang Dingtian nodded and sat at the top of the castle. He began to absorb qi to recover his battle qi. Under the control of his will, his Chaos Emperor Grade Soul Sword also began to absorb qi. The next morning, Yang Dingtian led the Demon Fox High Priest and all the High Priests of the Silver Dragon Temple out of Cloud Sky City and flew toward the Yin-Yang Mirror. In the Yin-Yang Mirror, they opened a spatial door and jumped into the torn space. Then, they flew tens of thousands of miles in the torn space. They arrived at the intersection of Mount Buzhou and the torn space. Here, Yang Dingtian opened a spatial door and led all the high priests of the Silver Dragon Temple into Mount Buzhou. Immediately, many high priests cried tears of joy. After nearly half a year, they finally returned to Mount Buzhou. However, the number of people was reduced by nearly half. The entire Mount Buzhou seemed to be the same. Yang Dingtian led the members of the High Priest Association to the Snow Mountain Castle and destroyed the energy door again. This way, the evil spirit army that was loyal to the Demon King would never be able to enter again. "We'll go with you," the Demon Fox High Priest said. "No need," Yang Dingtian said. "The Demon King is already dead. I'm not afraid of the remaining evil spirit warriors." "Vulture, come in," Yang Dingtian said. Vulture immediately entered Yang Dingtian's spatial ring. Yang Dingtian opened a spatial door on the energy wall between the Little Western Paradise and the Snow Mountain Castle. The Demon Fox High Priest suddenly said, "Why didn't you let Naga come with you? She's so powerful and has the primordial evil spirit. Destroying the Demon King's evil spirit army will be easy." Yes, it would be easy. However, the relationship between Naga and Yang Dingtian was completely different now. Most importantly, she was probably very unwilling to enter Yang Dingtian's spatial ring now. Yang Dingtian shook his head and didn't say anything. Then, he jumped out of the spatial door and entered the Little Western Paradise. After flying for a few thousand miles. Along the way, the Little Western Paradise didn't seem to be any different. However, the biggest difference from before was that it was completely silent and lifeless. Occasionally, many slogans could be seen in many cities. It said, "Long live the Silver Dragon Temple! Long live President Su Yan! Long live the Demon Fox race!" Of course, there were even more extreme ones. For example, the race was superior. Destroy the human race. Occupy the human countries and the Demon Fox race ruled the world. And so on and so forth. In less than half a year, the Demon King had brainwashed the entire Little Western Paradise. Naked and the theory of the extinction of the human race had already become the mainstream of the Little Western Paradise. It was easy to open the door of racism, but it was difficult to completely close it. Yang Dingtian flew to an agreed location. This place was in the middle of two huge mountains, and there was a vast sea everywhere. This was the place where Yang Dingtian and the Dark Wanderer had agreed to meet. Yang Dingtian took out an energy crystal and squeezed it. Bang! The energy crystal burst out with an incomparably bright light. Yang Dingtian didn't know if the Dark Wanderer was lured and controlled by the Demon King. He just tried to squeeze the energy crystal. After a few minutes, the surroundings were extremely quiet. Yang Dingtian sighed in his heart. It seemed that the Dark Wanderer had completely become the Demon King's claws. He continued to fly forward. At this moment, dozens of figures suddenly rushed out from the bottom of the sea. All the Dark Wanderers were there, and the leader was Mi Zhu. When he saw Yang Dingtian for the first time, Mi Zhu was ecstatic and said, "Yang Dingtian, are you okay?" Yang Dingtian said, "I'm fine." "What about you guys?" Mi Zhu said. "President Su Yan has fallen. He has already controlled the entire Little Western Paradise. We had to hide in the energy barrier of the deep sea to avoid his search." Yang Dingtian said, "I know. That's not President Su Yan. He was possessed by the Demon King. The two of them merged into one and became a peerless powerhouse close to a demigod." Mi Zhu was surprised, but that was all. They were Dark Wanderers and didn't care about other things. "Then," he said excitedly, "now that you're here, let's go to the Dark World to enjoy ourselves. It's been more than half a year, and it's really hard for us. Last time in the Dark Rift, we were afraid of Su Yan and didn't dare to appear." Yang Dingtian said, "All right, follow me to the Skull Hall." Now, the Fox Race's millions of troops were outside the Skull Hall. As for the saints and half-saints of the evil spirits, they were all in the Skull Hall. Yang Dingtian wanted to go in and kill all the evil spirit warriors. Then, he would bring Dishi Bian, Queen Haixian, Wolingzi, and the others back to the human world. I worked until almost 10 o'clock before I started writing, so it's still one chapter today. Tomorrow, it will definitely be 2 chapters. Chapter 1138. Was it easy to end the battle in the Skull Hall? It was easy to say. But it was not easy to say. The first thing to do was to observe the enemy's situation. Yang Dingtian and the Dark Wanderer flew toward the Skull Hall. When they were still a few hundred miles away from the Skull Hall, they saw the densely packed Fox army in the sky. At this moment, even though they were in the air, they were still full of fighting spirit. Moreover, the flags flying in the army were filled with the words, "Long live the Silver Dragon Temple! Long live Leader Su Yan! Destroy the inferior races!" There were fanatical slogans like that. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but frown when he saw all of this. Fanatical racism was really like a demon. Once it was released, blood would definitely flow like a river. And the Nazi Germany and the Sun Empire of Japan were all fanatics. They brainwashed countless people and brought a huge disaster to the entire world. Although the Demon King was dead now, it would take many years to eliminate the influence of fanatical racism in Little Western Paradise. Moreover, before this fanatical atmosphere was eliminated, Yang Dingtian would definitely not let the fox demons enter the human countries. Looking at the millions of troops floating in the air, Yang Dingtian suddenly had a scene of hundreds of thousands of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals attacking Sun Wukong in Journey to the West. He immediately hid his figure. After passing through the millions of fox demons, he arrived at the Skull Hall. At this moment, the door of the Little Western Paradise in the Skull Hall was always open. Yang Dingtian hid himself and looked at the door of the Skull Hall. He didn't enter immediately because Dishi Bian and Wolingzi both had the Netherworld Ghost Fire. Yang Dingtian's invisibility could only be seen through by the undead. However, Yang Dingtian couldn't guarantee that Dishi Bian and Wolingzi, who had the Netherworld Ghost Fire, wouldn't be able to see through it. Therefore, he could only flash at the door and take a look. It was as he had expected. The situation in the Skull Hall wasn't very good, but it wasn't very bad either. Dozens of saint-level evil spirit martial artists were inside. There were also over 200 half-sage evil spirit warriors. Although Yang Dingtian's cultivation had already reached the 24th level, he was still bound to lose or even die in the face of dozens of saint-level powerhouses. Fortunately, he had a soul sword that was close to the level of a demigod. In that case, it would be much easier to eliminate these evil spirit warriors. Using the Darkness Mystic Fire Soul Sword Soul, he could directly destroy the sea of chi of a dozen or so saint-level evil spirit martial artists, and make their sea of chi explode. The power of the self-destruction of more than a dozen martial saints was extremely shocking. Even a martial saint would not be able to withstand it. At this time, the remaining saint and half-saint evil spirit martial artists would also be blown to smithereens. But because of the evil spirit energy, they would recover very quickly. Yang Ditian repeated the process again, destroying the chi seas of more than a dozen martial saints. After repeating this a few times, basically all of the saints were finished. Of course, during the whole process, Yang Dingtian was invisible and used the sword soul to fight. It was a pity that not everyone in the Skull Hall was an evil spirit warrior. Neru, Demon's Wrath II, and Queen Hai Xian were also inside. The three of them didn't have any evil spirit energy. Once the sea of chi of more than a dozen evil spirit martial artists exploded, their lives would also be in danger. Especially Hai Xian, she would definitely die. Then, he needed to take Neru, Demon's Wrath II, and Queen Hai Xian away from the Skull Hall before the battle started. Was there any way to make all the non-evil spirit martial artists leave the Skull Hall? Yang Ditian thought for a while. He immediately had a plan. He left the Skull Hall and flew towards the place where the Dark Wanderer was hiding. When he arrived, he summoned the Dark Wanderer again. Yang Ditian said, "Your Excellency Mi Zhu, I need you to bring the Saint-level Dark Wanderer into the Skull Hall and bring out all the non-evil spirit martial artists, including Demon's Wrath II, Neru, and Queen Hai Xian." "Okay." Mi Zhu didn't say anything else and was about to go. "Wait," Yang Dingtian said. "I haven't told you what to do yet." Mi Zhu said. "Tell me," Yang Dingtian said. "Just say that because of the blooming of the Dark Rift, you guys appeared again, so you are also loyal to the Demon King. The Demon King and Devil Queen will enter the first Dark Realm through the Dark Rift and fight with Yang Dingtian." Yang Dingtian told Mi Zhu the entire plan word by word. Mi Zhu memorized every word, then nodded and said, "I understand." Yang Dingtian handed over a token and said, "This is the Devil Queen's token. Show it to them and they will believe you." Mi Zhu took it and was about to fly towards the Skull Hall with the Saint-level Dark Wanderer. Suddenly Yang Dingtian asked, "Mi Zhu, the Demon King also has void-rending fire. Why didn't you choose to be loyal to him? He is much stronger than me. Why are you willing to help me instead of being loyal to him?" Mi Zhu was silent for a long time before saying, "You said it yourself? Helping you means being loyal to him. Helping and pledging loyalty were two different things. Although we are dark wanderers, after hundreds of years of wandering, we have also become wild. We are used to being free and undisciplined. The last thing we want is to be someone's dog. If we were to be loyal to the Demon King, we would definitely be a dog." Then Mi Zhu smiled sadly and said, "Actually, we are not afraid of death, so there is no need to choose a side. We know very well that you feel pity for us lonely souls." After saying that, Mi Zhu flew towards the Skull Hall with the Saint-level Dark Wanderer. Yang Dingtian fell silent. Because these Dark Wanderers had devoured the dark energy, their minds had become extremely inferior, pure, weak, and sensitive. Therefore, they could indeed see the state of mind of others at a glance. Speaking of which, if Su Yan was like Mi Zhu and fell for a long time, his soul might be stronger. Because the situation could not be worse. He had nothing left. Because he had once defeated the dark energy, when he fell again, his soul instantly collapsed. Therefore, eternal separation when Tian took advantage of the opportunity to fall into the bottomless abyss. Mi Zhu quickly flew out of the Skull Hall with the Saint-level Dark Wanderer. Immediately, thousands of people from the Fox army flew out like lightning and surrounded Mi Zhu and the others. Mi Zhu directly took out the Devil Queen's token and said, "We are the Dark Wanderers. We are under the orders of the second leader of the Doomsday Committee to enter the Skull Hall and announce a new decree." That's right, the Devil Queen's current identity in Little Western Paradise was the second in command of the Doomsday Committee and the vice president of the Silver Dragon Temple. The leader of the Fox army took a look at the token. It was indeed the token of the vice leader of Piaoling. He waved his hand lightly and let them all pass. Mi Zhu brought the dark wanderers and flew directly into the Skull Hall. At this moment, all the Saint-level and half-Saint-level powerhouses were sitting cross-legged in the Skull Hall. Hundreds of people filled the huge ground. At this moment, they were waiting for the door to the human kingdom to open. Once it opened, they would surge into the human kingdom. They were anxious, but they were not worried at all. As long as the time was up, the door to the human kingdom would definitely open. None of the evil spirit warriors doubted that the demon king would obtain victory and destroy Yang Dingtian. Of course, a day had already passed since the battle between the demon king and Yang Dingtian. The door to the human kingdom should have opened long ago. Why hadn't it opened yet? Seeing Mi Zhu and the others enter, Walingzi, Dishi Bian, Demon Rage 2, and the others opened their eyes to take a look. Mi Zhu once again raised the Queen Devil Queen's token and said, "Under the orders of President Piao Ling, all non-Saint-level evil spirit warriors in the Skull Hall are to evacuate. Also, send 10 Saint-level powerhouses back to Mount Buzhou." The moment these words came out, all the evil spirit warriors were stunned. With the Queen Devil Queen not around, Dishi Bian was the leader of all the evil spirit warriors. He immediately asked coldly, "Since when did you Dark Wanderers pledge allegiance to His Majesty?" "His Majesty has been looking for you for a long time." Mi Zhu said, "When the dark crack opens, it is time for us to eat. Of course, we will appear." Needless to say, everyone present believed it. They felt that this group of dark wanderers had no moral integrity. As long as there was dark energy to devour, they would betray Yang Dingtian and pledge allegiance to the Demon King. Dishibian said, "Then why do you want all non-Saint-level evil spirit warriors to leave the Skull Hall? Why do you want 10 Saint-level powerhouses to return to Mount Buzhou?" Demon Rage 2 said, "Over at the Dark Realm, how is the battle between His Majesty and Yang Dingtian?" Mi Zhu said, "His Majesty won, but Yang Dingtian is safe and sound." The moment these words came out, everyone present was shocked. How could Yang Dingtian be safe and sound? His Majesty the Demon King's cultivation was close to that of a demigod. Mi Zhu said, "Yang Dingtian invited 2 helpers. One is the soul of the ancient sea snake empress, and the other is a completely transformed Naga Dugashuang." The moment these words came out, everyone was shocked. Yang Dingtian had indeed come to Naga. Only Dishi Bian was not very surprised, because the Demon King had said to prepare for the worst. Mi Zhu said, "Now, His Majesty the Demon King and the Devil Queen have entered the human countries. Naga and the Sea Snake Empress have also entered the human countries together, and the 2 sides have fought again. His Majesty Piao Ling asked me to pass through the dark crack at the last moment. He will report back." At this time, Mi Zhu simply called them Demon King and Devil Queen. In any case, the entire Skull Hall was basically filled with evil spirit warriors. Dishi Bian fell silent. Mi Zhu said, "The Demon King and the Devil Queen will definitely come to the Taboo Continent's sea area soon and open the door to the human countries. However, Naga is undying and will definitely follow. Furthermore, there is the ancient Sea Snake Empress, who is also close to becoming a demigod. Once the door to the human countries opens and all of our experts swarm out, we will definitely be slaughtered by Naga and the Sea Snake Empress. Therefore, Her Majesty the Devil Queen gave me the token and asked me to pass on the order to withdraw all non-evil spirit warriors from the Skull Hall, lest they be slaughtered by Naga and unable to revive." Dishibian said, "Then when will the door to the human countries open?" Mi Zhu calculated for a while and said, "There are still 3.5 hours." The moment these words came out, everyone present nodded. The door to the human countries should have opened long ago. So this was the reason why it had not opened until now. It turned out that they were waiting for Mi Zhu to pass on the order for all non-evil spirit warriors to leave. Now it made sense. Dishibian said, "Then why do you want another 10 Saint-level experts to retreat to Mount Buzhou?" Mi Zhu said, "Her Majesty the Devil Queen is worried that Yang Dingtian will return to Mount Buzhou with the people of the Silver Dragon Temple through the spatial door." Dishibian nodded. It made sense. Then, she directly ordered, Wolingzi, lead 10 saint-level punishers and all non-evil spirit warriors to leave the Skull Hall and return to Mount Bujo. Wolingzi stood up and said, "Yes." Then, he pointed out 9 saint-level evil spirit warriors. There were also 3 non-evil spirit warriors. Demon Rage 2, President Neru, and Queen Hai Xian. Including Wolingzi, there were a total of 13 people. Dishibian said, "There are many members of the High Priest Association who were rescued by Yang Dingtian. Is 10 saint-level punishers enough?" Mijou said, "And all of our dark wanderers will stay behind to guard Mount Bujo." Dishibian nodded, then said to Neru and Demon Rage 2, "The 2 of you are smart enough to know what to do. You should also know that even if Yang Dingtian has Naga on his side now, it won't change anything." Demon Rage 2 nodded. Wolingzi said, and the 13 people and Mijou's dark wanderers all left the Skull Hall. There was only one kind of people in the entire hall now, and that was the evil spirit warriors. Dozens of saint level and hundreds of half-saint level. They were waiting for Yang Dingtian to come and catch them all in one fell swoop. Chapter 1139. Mijou and 20 saint-level dark wanderers brought Wolingzi, Neru, Demon Rage 2, and the other 13 people out of the Skull Hall and flew towards Mount Bujo. When the Demon Fox army outside saw Wolingzi traveling together with the token in Mijou's hand, they did not stop them. The dozens of people flew very quickly. In just an hour, they had flown thousands of miles. Wolingzi, who was in the lead, continued to fly forward expressionlessly. As for Neru and Demon Rage 2, they would occasionally look at each other. Only Queen Hai Xian's heart became complicated again. At that time, she was captured by Yang Dingtian. Because her cultivation was too high, she was also imprisoned in the hell prison of Mount Bujo. Later, the Demon King succeeded in his counterattack and released Hai Xian. Queen Hai Xian naturally joined the Demon King without any obstacles. After a trip to the ancient Sea Serpent Empire, although she had gained something, her cultivation had not improved at all. Moreover, the Demon King had become unprecedentedly powerful, infinitely close to a demigod. Even her mother, the ancient Sea Serpent Empress, was at most at this level of cultivation. Therefore, at this moment, although Hai Xian was still ambitious and hoped that one day she could revive the fossils of the Sea Serpent Empire and inherit the throne of the Sea Serpent Empire. However, she no longer had any thoughts of resisting the Demon King. This was because the Demon King was already incomparably powerful. This time, once he completely destroyed Yang Dingtian, possessed Yang Dingtian, and then mated with Naga, the Demon King would be able to break through to the demigod realm, which would be even more out of reach. Therefore, there was nothing wrong with pledging loyalty to the Demon King, as long as he could achieve the great cause of revitalizing the Sea Serpent clan. However, from Mijou's words, her mother, the Sea Serpent Empress, had actually revived and was helping Yang Dingtian to fight. If that was the case, where should she, Queen Hai Xian, go? Could it be that she had to go against her mother? After flying for 2,000 miles, Queen Hai Xian finally could not help but ask Mijou, "Your Excellency, did you see the ancient Sea Serpent Empress? How did she revive?" Mijou glanced at her and said, "The Heaven Spirit Master summoned her soul spirit energy while Yang Dingtian provided a powerful energy body. With the combination of the two, she was revived." Although Mijou's explanation was very brief, Queen Hai Xian almost immediately. Although she didn't know much about the demon spirit and demon fire spirit, she had heard about it. Her mother was really standing on Yang Dingtian's side. What about her? With the cube's Fangziz's head. Just as Queen Seaheart was filled with unease, whoosh whoosh whoosh, suddenly, dozens of black shadows flew out in front of them. Wolingzi and the others were shocked. After seeing them clearly, they calmed down. These dozens of black shadows were also dark wanderers at the half-saint level. However, another figure suddenly appeared in front of them. In an instant, Demon's Wrath 2, Neru, and the others were completely stunned. This figure was actually Yang Dingtian? Not only did Yang Dingtian not die, But he had also killed his way into the little western paradise? This was too shocking. Wolingzi and the other evil martial artists were also stunned at first. Then, they immediately drew their swords and were about to attack. Demon King, Devil Queen is dead. Evil ways are at the end of the road, Yang Dingtian said. Those who are not evil martial artists, retreat immediately. After Yang Dingtian gave the order, Neru and Demon's Wrath too didn't even have time to show expressions of ecstasy. They immediately retreated a few thousand meters and broke away from the evil martial artists' formation. Queen Hai Xian was stunned at first, then quickly retreated. At the same time, Mi Zhu's 20-odd Dark Wanderers suddenly spread out. Together with dozens of half-sage Dark Wanderers, they surrounded the 10 evil martial artists. Wolingzi's will was completely suppressed by the first-class evil spirit. Hearing this news, he wasn't shocked or afraid. He directly said, "Nonsense, attack, kill him!" In an instant, not only did the fearless evil martial artists not run, but they also attacked Yang Dingtian crazily. Chaos Emperor grade soul swords attacked. Myriad swords returned to origin. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Soul swords that were close to the demigod level shot out crazily. At the same time, Neru, Demon's Wrath too, and dozens of Dark Wanderers attacked crazily. Countless sword beams shot out crazily toward the 10 saint-level evil martial artists. Bang bang bang, in almost a moment. The 10 saint-level evil martial artists led by Wolingzi were all turned into ashes. But immediately after, under the effect of the evil spirit, their bodies were restored again. Wolingzi sneered and said, "We all have third-grade evil spirits and above. We won't die." Yang Dingtian sneered and said, "Is that so? Vulture!" Yang Dingtian shouted. The saint-level celestial spirit master, Vulture, suddenly flew out from Yang Dingtian's space ring. At the same time, Yang Dingtian suddenly threw out 10 small space rings that floated in the air. Immediately after, Vulture directly used his mind to control the soul energy of these saint-level evil martial artists, and made them fly into the space rings. The evil spirit energy desperately restored the bodies of these saint-level evil martial artists. However, dozens of Dark Wanderers and Yang Dingtian's soul sword attacked continuously. These 10 evil martial artists were constantly turned into ashes. Their bodies could not be restored and were always in an energy state. And as long as they were in an energy state, they were Vulture's prey. Previously, Vulture had not broken through to the saint level, and was unable to control so much saint-level energy at once. But now, it was completely easy. Although these evil martial artists' energy struggled crazily, it was completely unstoppable. Vulture controlled them, and one by one, they flew into the space rings. Whoosh 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 whoosh. One after another, the bodies of the 10 saint-level evil martial artists were all destroyed and turned into a ball of energy that was imprisoned in the space rings. These space rings were all made by Yang Dingtian, and the space inside was less than a foot square. A complete person could not be stored inside. However, the bodies of these evil spirit martial artists had all turned into ashes, leaving only their souls, hearts, Xian meridians, and sea of qi under the protection of the evil spirit. They could all be compressed into a very small ball. A small spatial ring that was less than a foot in size would definitely be able to contain them. And once they entered the space ring, it was completely equivalent to entering another plane of space. As long as Yang Dingtian did not release them, they would never be able to get out. Moreover, there was no life in this space. After entering this space, even the evil martial artists would enter a state of eternal sleep. After imprisoning all 10 saint-level evil martial artists, Yang Dingtian threw these 10 small space rings into the large space ring. This was a double-layered prison, and it was even more impossible to escape. Seeing Vulture's slightly gloomy expression, Yang Dingtian naturally knew the reason. It was because Wolingzi's soul was also imprisoned in the space ring. Although Wolingzi had always been synonymous with cowardice and shamelessness, at the final moment, he had become a qualified father. Gently rubbing her ear, Yang Dingtian said, "Don't worry, I will make a deal with Naga. Strip away your father's first-class evil spirit energy, and replace it with a second-class evil spirit energy. This way, your father will be able to regain his sanity and survive. Vulture nodded and smiled sweetly at Yang Dingtian. Sect Master Yang Dingtian, how have you been? Nereus stepped forward and bowed to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian said, Lord President, Lord Demon Rage, how have you been? Demon Rage too looked at Yang Dingtian. Is what you said just now true? The Demon King and Devil Queen are both dead? Yang Dingtian nodded and said, Yes, they are both dead. Nereus said, Were they killed by Naga? Yang Dingtian's expression suddenly became a little complicated. He said, With Naga's help, but it was my dark mystic fire soul sword that killed them. Demon Rage too said, Originally, this was a matter of great joy. But I believe you also know that the current Little Western Paradise has fallen into an incomparably fanatical state. Even if the Demon King is dead, it will be very difficult to reverse it. Yang Dingtian said, I know. Kill all the evil spirit warriors, and then the righteous priests of the Silver Dragon Temple will return. In another 100 years, we might be able to wash away the Demon King's fanatical racism. But during this time, I will not allow the Demon Fox race to enter the human countries. Demon Rage too said bitterly, I know. At this moment, Queen High Xian's expression was incomparably complicated, and even fearful. She wanted to escape immediately, but she knew that she definitely could not. Moreover, the shock that Yang Dingtian brought to her was completely unparalleled. He actually killed the Demon King? The Demon King who was close to a demigod? This was simply too inconceivable. Queen High Xian was very clear about Yang Dingtian's intention to kill her. But now that her mother was on his side, she did not know if Yang Dingtian's position would change. After hesitating for a moment, Queen High Xian still stepped forward and said, Sect Master Yang, how have you been? Previously, she had always addressed Yang Dingtian as Yang Dingtian. She had always looked down on him when she addressed him as a little man. But now, Yang Dingtian had become a figure that she looked up to, and her attitude had also become dormant. Yang Dingtian looked at High Xian with complicated emotions. He sighed and said, High Xian, your mother, the Sea Snake Empress, died protecting me in the battle with the Demon King. As soon as these words came out, High Xian trembled. Her mother, the Sea Snake Empress, was actually dead. Of course, Queen High Xian's emotions were very good. She was a little sad, but not very sad. After all, she had never interacted with the Sea Snake Empress for a day, and there was no deep mother-daughter relationship. However, that was her mother after all. Yang Dingtian continued, After the matters here are resolved, follow me back to the human countries. There will be a secret trial and punishment for you. Are you willing to accept it? Queen High Xian immediately understood Yang Dingtian's words. She could avoid death, but she could not escape punishment. Then, what about our sea snake race? Queen High Xian asked. Yang Dingtian, the reason why your mother helped me was because she hoped that I would help the sea snake race continue to pass on. After Queen High Xian heard this, she immediately knelt down and said, Yes, Sect Master Yang. Yang Dingtian. Your Excellency Mi Zhu, Your Excellency Demon Rage, President Neru, please wait here for a while. I will go and deal with all the remaining evil spirit warriors in the Skull Hall before coming back to meet you. Neru said, There are dozens of sage and hundreds of half-sage experts over there. You are not their match. Let's go together. Yang Dingtian. There are more than a few hundred evil spirit experts over there. There is also an army of millions of demon foxes. Even if you go together, you won't be able to win. You can only seek death. Demon Rage too. Then you won't be able to do it alone. Yang Dingtian. Don't worry. It's because there are many sage evil spirit warriors inside that I have the confidence to win. I won't even be injured. Mi Zhu. Yang Dingtian, do you really not need our help? Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, I really don't need it. I can handle it alone. And from the beginning to the end, I won't show my face. Demon Rage too said, All right then, we'll wait here. Then Yang Dingtian flew to the Skull Hall as fast as he could. At a place far away from the Skull Hall, Yang Dingtian used his invisibility mystic skill to hide himself and Vulture in an isolated space. After passing through the army of millions of demon foxes, they entered the Skull Hall. How to eliminate these dozens of sage evil spirit warriors and hundreds of half-sage evil spirit warriors? It was very simple. Yang Dingtian was about to summon the dark mystic fire soul sword to tear apart the sea of energy of the dozens of sage evil spirit warriors. However, at this moment, Dishi Bien suddenly opened her eyes and said, "Be careful, there are enemies." Then, she suddenly pounced toward Yang Dingtian. Chapter 1140. With the Netherworld Ghost Flame, he could indeed discover Yang Dingtian's invisibility mystic skill like an undead. However, it was useless. If Yang Dingtian was not Dishi Bien's match before, Yang Dingtian was now a level 24 powerhouse. He was more than several times stronger than Dishi Bien. Following Dishi Bien's shout, dozens of saint-level powerhouses and hundreds of half-step saint-level powerhouses rushed over like lightning. It looked very shocking. However, it was still useless. If Yang Dingtian was surrounded by this group of evil spirit warriors, especially when the Demon King was surrounded by the saint-level expeditionary military array, he would really be finished. However, these saint-level powerhouses could not even see Yang Dingtian. Dark Mystic Fire Soul Sword, myriad swords returned to origin. Whoosh 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 whoosh, the thread-like Dark Mystic Fire Soul Sword shot out. In less than half a second, thousands of swords shot out. It easily tore open the sea of energy of more than a dozen saint-level evil spirit powerhouses. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian appeared in a flash and flew out of the Skull Hall. Then, he directly closed the silver energy door of the Little Western Paradise. Those saint-level evil spirit warriors whose sea of energy had been cut open did not even feel it at first. They were still rushing over crazily. Suddenly, they felt a chill in their stomachs. Looking down, they found a black line in their sea of energy. Then, countless amounts of mystic chi gushed out crazily. Even the evil spirit energy was unable to heal it. What was going on? These saint-level evil spirit warriors could not help but look at each other. Boom 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 boom, there was a loud bang. The first one exploded. The saint-level evil spirit warrior's sea of energy exploded. An earth-shattering explosion and an earth-shattering white light. Boom 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 boom. Following that, one by one, the saint-level evil spirit martial artists self-detonated one after another. The self-destruction of each saint-level evil spirit warrior was like a nuclear explosion. White light flashed. The other evil spirit warriors in the entire hall were instantly turned into ashes. Dozens of saint-rank evil spirit warriors and hundreds of half-saint-rank evil spirit warriors had all turned into ashes. The whole scene was incomparably gorgeous. Although the hall was big enough, it was still crowded with hundreds of evil spirit warriors. Dozens of saint-level chi seas exploded. Yang Dingtian closed the energy door, and not a single one of the hundreds of evil spirit martial artists was able to escape. All of them were smashed to pieces. Of course, with how important this skull was, if it couldn't withstand the self-detonation of more than a dozen saint-level martial artists, and completely shattered, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, such a thing was impossible. The Skull Hall was an independent plane of space, connected to several planes. The entire hall was an incomparably powerful body of energy. Not to mention a dozen saint-level chi seas, even if hundreds or thousands of saint-level chi seas self-destructed, it wouldn't be damaged at all. Furthermore, the explosion of these saint-level energy seas was the purest form of profound energy. The Great Hall of Skulls was completely devoured. Yang Dingtian closed the door. The entire hall didn't even tremble, let alone be destroyed. Not even a sound could be heard from outside. The demon fox army outside the hall was only slightly surprised when they saw the door close. They had no idea what had happened. After waiting for less than a second outside, the self-detonation of more than a dozen saint-level chi seas inside had already ended. Yang Dingtian immediately opened the door to the little western paradise in the Great Hall of Skulls and rushed into the hall once again. At this time, the entire hall, whether it was the huge statue or the walls, were not damaged at all. Moreover, there was not a single complete body inside. Hundreds of energy shadows floated around in shock. The dozens of evil spirit martial artists whose sea of chi had exploded had lost their sea of chi, mystic meridians, and hearts. Only the evil spirit energy was left to wrap around their souls. As for the remaining hundreds of evil spirit martial artists, their bodies were all destroyed. Only the evil spirit energy was left to wrap around their sea of chi, mystic meridians, energy-formed hearts, and brains. At this time, the explosion had just ended. The evil spirit energy was about to start recovering their bodies. At this time, it was impossible for them to attack Yang Dingtian. Whoosh! The saint-level vulture was immediately summoned from the space ring by Yang Dingtian. At the same time, more than a dozen small space rings floated in the air. Vulture used his celestial spirit master talent to control the energy of dozens of saint-level experts, and desperately guided them into the space rings. The first of them was Dishi Bian's soul. The energy of dozens of saint-level evil spirit martial artists struggled desperately. However, the dozen small space rings were like a huge energy vortex, desperately devouring them. One by one, they were locked into the space rings. As for Dishi Bian, under his desperate struggle, his entire energy body suddenly split into two. The other soul wanted to escape. However, it was useless. Even if his soul was out of his body, it was still an energy body. As long as it was an energy body, it could not escape from Vulture's palm. Although they did not dare to do so, these dozens of saint-level evil spirits were still locked into the space rings one by one. Some space rings even contained 2 or 3 evil spirit martial artists' soul energy. After the soul energy of these dozens of saint-level evil spirit martial artists was completely devoured into the space rings, the remaining hundreds of evil spirit martial artists were quickly recovering their bodies. Some of them did not even recover their bodies and directly rushed out of the door of Little Western Paradise, wanting to escape. However, with Yang Dingtian, a level 24 saint-level powerhouse guarding, this was completely impossible. Bang! Yang Dingtian closed the door of Little Western Paradise again. Whoosh 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 whoosh. He collected all the space rings filled with saint-level evil spirit energy and put them into the larger space ring. At this time, the hundreds of evil spirit martial artists had all recovered their bodies, but most of them were half-saints. There were only a few saint-level evil spirit powerhouses left. Hundreds of evil spirit martial artists surrounded Yang Dingtian. Vulture was standing behind Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, a saint-level evil spirit powerhouse asked, "Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, where are His Majesty Demon King and Her Majesty Devil Queen?" Yang Dingtian took a look and found that it was actually a level 2 evil spirit. It was an enchanting woman, and he vaguely remembered her. After thinking for a while, he remembered. This was the concubine of the Demon City's Merchant Palace's master, Sharon. He vaguely remembered that she was called San Yang or something. He forgot. "He's dead," Yang Dingtian replied immediately. "Impossible!" Sharon's concubine shrieked. "His Majesty Demon King's cultivation is close to that of a half-god, and he has the Chaos Emperor armor. How could he die?" Then, another voice sounded. "Yang Dingtian, it must be because you don't dare to fight with the Demon King, so you didn't stay in the first Dark Realm. Instead, you tore through space and entered the Little Western Paradise to destroy His Majesty Demon King's lair." Another familiar face, Zhu Hongshue's younger brother, Zhu Hongyu. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but sneer. Even at this time, he still hadn't given up his evil intentions. Yang Dingtian said, "The Nagaduga Shuang and the Ancient Sea Snake Empress destroyed the Demon King's Chaos Emperor armor. My dark mystic flame soul sword tore open the Demon King's Sea of Qi. His Sea of Qi exploded and turned into ashes." "Impossible!" Zhu Hongyu shrieked. "Everyone, don't believe it! His Majesty Demon King is invincible. How could a mere Yang Dingtian kill him? Everyone, charge forward and kill Yang Dingtian. Wait for the Demon King to open the door to the human kingdom. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud sound. Behind Zhu Hongyu, another evil spirit saint expert slashed down with his sword, directly shattering Zhu Hongyu's body. It was another familiar face, Qin Wancho's wife, Qiu Ruhan. After secretly attacking Zhu Hongyu, she immediately flew to Yang Dingtian's side. I believe in you, Sect Master Yang. Then, she directly stood beside Yang Dingtian with her sword. At the last moment, she had chosen to side with him. Yang Dingtian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Zhu Hongyu quickly recovered her body and roared. Qiu Ruhan, everything you have was given to you by the Demon King. How dare you betray the Demon King? Qiu Ruhan sneered. Idiot, the Demon King and the Devil Queen are already dead. Dream on, dream on. Zhu Hongyu shrieked. All evil spirit saints, attack together and kill Yang Dingtian. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Zhu Hongyu and Sharon Base's concubine took the lead and suddenly turned into a stream of light, rushing toward Yang Dingtian. It was actually a suicidal attack. Yang Dingtian sneered. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 10,000 swords return. Yang Dingtian's sword soul was actually divided into two parts. The first part was the soul sword of the primal chaos attribute. Countless sword souls enveloped Yang Dingtian and the other two, turning into a powerful energy shield. Hundreds of evil spirit saints attacked like meteors, but they couldn't break in at all. They couldn't hurt Yang Dingtian at all. The other part of the soul sword was the dark mystic fire sword soul. Like a black hole, it suddenly cut open the sea of qi of Zhu Hongyu, Sharon Base's concubine, and the remaining two saint-level evil spirit saints. Boom! First, her lower abdomen was ice cold. Zhu Hongyu looked down, and then her entire sea of qi exploded. Then, it was Sharon Base's enchanting concubine. No, no, no! Amidst a shrill cry. Her delicate body and qi sea were instantly reduced to ashes. She was gone forever. Boom, 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 for a saint-level sea of qi exploded. Suddenly, the hundreds of evil spirit saints that attacked Yang Dingtian like meteors were once again turned into ashes. Under the protection of the demigod sword soul energy shield, Yang Dingtian, Vulture, and Qiu Ruhan were unharmed. The explosion of 4 saint-level sea of qi only caused the energy shield to tremble violently. Then, Vulture moved again. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The hundreds of half-saint evil spirit saints didn't have time to recover their bodies. Under the control of Vulture's spiritual power, they flew into Yang Dingtian's large space ring like countless meteors. There was no other way. Yang Dingtian's small space ring had been used up. In the end, these hundreds of half-saint evil spirit saints could only enter the large space ring. In just a short moment, Yang Dingtian withdrew his soul sword. The entire hall was empty. The final battle was over. All the evil spirit saints had been wiped out. The battle with the evil ways was over. Next, it was time to go back and trade with Naga Shuang. Chapter 1141. Yang Dingtian's gaze fell on Qiu Ruhan's face. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and then she knelt down. Yang Dingtian, didn't you possess the demon fox race? Why did you change back to your original appearance? In the battle just now, Yang Dingtian didn't see it clearly. Whether it was Salamba's concubine or Zhu Hongyu, Yang Dingtian could vaguely see their original appearances. Now, he could see clearly that Qiu Ruhan was still in the form of a demon fox. Whether it was the ears, the eyes, or the stripes on her neck, they were all characteristics of the demon fox race. However, her face was indeed very similar to the original Qiu Ruhan. Qiu Ruhan. After we possessed the demon fox race powerhouses, we were actually more beautiful than our original appearances. But after a long time, we couldn't find a sense of belonging, so we all tried to find a way to return to our original appearances. Yang Dingtian. The evil spirit energy can change one's appearance? Qiu Ruhan nodded. Yes, but not at the beginning. But later, When the Demon King controlled the entire Little Western Paradise, many people tried to change back to their original appearances. Yang Dingtian looked at her again. Do you know about Shimanju and Yangjing? Qiu Ruhan nodded. I know. They sacrificed themselves for the sect master. Yang Dingtian. Although you changed your position at the last moment, and can be spared from death, you can't escape punishment. Do you still have your body? Qiu Ruhan shook her head and said. He's not here anymore. His body was crushed to pieces. Yang Dingtian. That means you and Qin Wanzhou can never be husband and wife again. Qiu Ruhan's body was that of a demon fox. And Qin Wanzhou couldn't make a demon fox go into heat, so they couldn't be husband and wife. Qiu Ruhan said. After I left him, I became a promiscuous woman. I sold my body. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether I do it or not. Yang Dingtian said. How about this? For the time being, you will continue to help Monster's Wrath 2 and Speaker Nera reorganize the Little Western Paradise as a foxman. When the situation in the Little Western Paradise is completely settled, your cultivation will be completely destroyed. Then, you will enter the human countries and accompany City Lord Qin Wanzhou. Of course, when the time comes, you might not be able to maintain your human body and might turn into a demon fox. Qiu Ruhan kowtowed and said, I'm willing. If I can't be his wife, then I'll be his pet. I deserve it. Yang Dingtian. All right, that's settled then. Then, Yang Dingtian brought Vulture and Qiu Ruhan out of the Skull Hall. More than an hour later, Yang Dingtian met up with Neru and Monster's Wrath 2 again. The evil spirit warriors have all been dealt with. Yang Dingtian. Let's go to Mount Buzhou together. Then, Yang Dingtian led everyone and flew toward Mount Buzhou. At this time, the energy gate of Mount Buzhou's Snow Mountain Castle had been destroyed again. Yang Dingtian opened the spatial gate and let everyone enter Snow Mountain Castle. At this time, the saint-level priests of the High Priest Association had retaken Snow Mountain Castle. The Demon King's evil spirit army has been completely destroyed. The energy gate can be restored, Yang Dingtian said. Su Yan was dead. Now, the entire High Priest Association was under the control of Fire Dance and Demon Fox High Priest. Next, the biggest problem was how to set Little Western Paradise right and eliminate the influence left behind by the Demon King. This required the High Priest Association, the Joint Council, and the 9 great tribes to complete together. This would take a long time. In fact, in a short period of time, the Doomsday Committee could not be disbanded immediately. It had to be done step by step. Especially now, millions of Demon Fox army were still outside the Skull Hall, waiting to invade the human countries. How to make these millions of Demon Fox army retreat was a difficult time. It was also a major matter that bore the brunt of the problem. Sect Master Yang, Chairman Neru and I have lost absolute control of the Demon Fox army, Monster's Wrath 2 said. You know, once fanatical racism is ignited, it's really difficult to extinguish it. Therefore, the two of us can't make these millions of Demon Fox army retreat. Of course, these millions of Demon Fox army gathered there would have no impact on the human countries. Instead, they might end up destroying Little Western Paradise. Chairman Nera said, It's easy to deal with the low-level Demon Fox warriors who have been brainwashed. They are ignorant and blindly follow. Since they can be brainwashed by the Demon King, they can also be brainwashed by us. But the most fanatical core members, it might be necessary to directly eliminate them. Monster's Wrath 2 said. Did you leave any images of the Demon King's death? If everyone sees that their leader, President Su Yan, is dead, it might be intimidating. When they killed the Demon King, they were extremely nervous. Naturally, they did not leave any images. Suddenly, Vulture said, At that time, I used my spiritual power to revive the Sea Snake Empress. When my husband used the dark profound fire sword soul to tear open the Demon King's Sea of Qi, I used the recovery jade to record a portion. However, after the Demon King's Sea of Qi exploded, the recovery jade was also destroyed. Nera said, It's better to deal with the pain quickly than to prolong the pain. If there's no other way, let Naga come out and start a massacre. Kill all the Demon King's fanatical followers. How many could Naga kill if they started a massacre? Hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of them were not a problem. However, there were at least a few million of them in the Fox clan army. Moreover, Yang Dingtian did not really want to borrow the power of Naga anymore. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and then said, Demon King, who is the highest leader under the Devil Queen? Neris said, Dishi Bien, Wulingzi, and I, Master Monster's Wrath, are all leaders. Yang Dingtian said, All right, I'll go back and restore Wulingzi and Dishi Bien's consciousness. Then come to Little Western Paradise again and announce that the master of the Silver Dragon Temple is dead. The invasion of the human countries has been defeated. Then, the four of you will announce that you will continue to lead an army of millions to invade the human countries. However, you have to explain that the human countries are already protected by Naga. Invading might be a dead end. All those who go against their words can go home. And the demon foxes who still insist on invading the human countries are definitely fanatics. Banish this portion of the demon foxes to the dark world and let them fend for themselves. As soon as he said this, everyone fell into silence. This was something that could be done. Yang Dingtian used the void-splitting fire to open the door of darkness in the Skull Hall and lied to the demon foxes that this was the door to enter the human countries. They would not doubt it. This way, many fanatical demon foxes could be completely exiled. However, this exile would not be tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands, or even more. However, this group of people had been brainwashed by the Demon King and had become a tumor in Little Western Paradise. It might be better to remove them all at once. Let's do it this way. President Nero was the first to express her opinion. Banish as many fanatics as there are. Even if it's millions, we won't hesitate. Then, Priest Huwu also raised her hand and said, The Silver Dragon Temple also agrees to banish this group of fanatical demon foxes. Demon Rage too raised his hand. All four sides agreed to use deceit to banish all the fanatics. After the four sides had made their decision, Yang Dingtian brought Vulture and the energy of hundreds of evil spirit warriors back to the human countries through a spatial tear. Chiu Ruhan also came along. She would stay in Little Western Paradise to help Demon Rage 2 and President Neru. This time, she only came to see Qin Wancho. After returning to Cloud Sky City, all the higher-ups of the Council of Light happened to be there, including Qin Wancho. When he saw Chiu Ruhan for the first time, Qin Wancho could not help but be stunned. Then, he revealed a bitter smile. However, he still heaved a long sigh of relief. He, Qin Wancho, had always been disdainful and pitiful towards Chiu Ruhan, even though she had betrayed him many times and even cuckolded him. However, in Qin Wancho's eyes, Chiu Ruhan had always been a pitiful person. Chiu Ruhan was not so quiet in front of Qin Wancho. She stared at his face for a while and said, My body now belongs to the fox race, so nothing can happen between us. Qin Wancho was stunned and said, That's a pity. However, according to the laws of the Council of Light, you will probably have to spend the rest of your life in prison. But don't worry, I will visit you often. Chiu Ruhan shook her head and said, I don't need to go to prison. I will redeem myself in Little Western Paradise. When the situation there is relatively stable, all my cultivation will be abolished, and I will return to the human countries as a fox. At that time, you will have another pet. Master, is there any movement from Nagashuang? Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Minli said, Not at all. In the original cave, she did not communicate with anyone and did not see anyone. Then Dongfang Minli said, Little Tian, is there any change in Naga? Yang Dingtian nodded. Dongfang Minli said, Then, try not to have any conflict. Let her leave, as far away from the human countries as possible. It's best if she never comes back. Naga is invincible. Yang Dingtian said, I know! Then, Yang Dingtian flew to the mountains in the west and entered the familiar cave. When Naga Shuang first appeared, she was like a child, clinging and relying on Yang Dingtian. She could not even bear to leave for a minute. At that time, she spent most of her time in this cave. Every time Yang Dingtian left, he would tell her that he would be back after counting tens of thousands. Therefore, from the minute Yang Dingtian left, Naga Shuang began to count. After counting tens of thousands, Yang Dingtian came back. At that time, Naga Shuang was so clingy, so innocent, and so cute. He walked into the depths of the cave. On the stone bed, Naga Shuang was lying on her side. The curves of her delicate body were like mountains and rivers. Her beautiful face stood at the top of the pyramid of the whole world. When Yang Dingtian came in, her beautiful eyes were also confused, as if she was lost in memories. When she saw Yang Dingtian come in, her eyes instantly became clear. "Is it over? Can we go now?" Yang Dingtian nodded. "Shuang'er, before we go, let's make a deal," Shuang'er asked. "What deal?" In exchange for powerful energy, she would free the souls of Dishi Bian and Wolingzi. Chapter 1142. Yang Dingtian said, "In the Little Western Paradise, I killed dozens of saint-level evil spirit warriors and hundreds of half-saint-level evil spirit warriors. Most of their souls and energy have been imprisoned in my spatial ring. This should be a relatively large amount of energy. Dozens of saint-level and hundreds of half-saint-level. Many of them were high-level saint-level. Moreover, it was a complete sea of energy, so it was indeed a very powerful energy. It was comparable to all the high-level undead and Shura in the Underworld Empire combined. This energy was very attractive even to Naga. Naga Shuang nodded and looked at Yang Dingtian. "What do you want to trade?" Yang Dingtian said. "Liberate Dishi Bian's soul and liberate Wolingzi's soul. Of course, Wolingzi's Xian meridians are not high enough, so he can't withstand a saint-level sea of energy. So, I hope you can change his first-class evil spirit to a second-class evil spirit." This was almost impossible for others. But for Naga Shuang, it was a piece of cake because she had a complete primeval evil spirit tree. Even the Demon King and the Devil Queen did not have such an advantage. Hearing the contents of the trade, Naga Shuang could not help but be slightly stunned. Wasn't this transaction a little too simple? She continued, "You are giving a lot of energy. You can also make other requests." Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, "Not for now. That's all." "Okay," Naga Shuang said. Then, she gently raised her hand. A dozens of meters energy shield appeared and wrapped Yang Dingtian and Naga inside. Then, she said to Yang Dingtian, "Release all the soul energy of the evil spirit warriors." Yang Dingtian opened a large spatial ring, and the soul energy of hundreds of half-saint-level evil spirit warriors gushed out. Following that, Yang Dingtian opened a few dozen small spatial rings. The soul energies of several dozen saint-level undead warriors flew out. Among them were Wolingzi and Dishi Bian. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In an instant, the entire energy shield was filled with the soul energy of hundreds of evil spirits. It looked strange yet gorgeous. The energy of the dozens of saint-level undead immediately tried to rush out of the energy shield. Some of them wanted to attack Yang Dingtian. At that time, everything was of no use. Even the Demon King could not charge out of Naga's energy barrier, let alone these saint-level evil spirit warriors. These saint-level evil spirit martial artists crazily attacked, but they couldn't even budge the energy barrier. Immediately after, all the evil spirit warriors began to recover their bodies. However, they realized that they could not do it at all. Naga's energy field suppressed hundreds of evil spirit warriors. The evil spirit energy seemed to be unable to work here. Only 2 people present could recover their bodies. They were Dishi Bian and Wolingzi. However, the 2 of them were unable to move at all. They were suppressed by Naga's energy. Hundreds of soul energies tried their best to escape, but they couldn't do it at all. They were instantly panicking. Then Naga made her move. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Countless energy hands gushed out from her body. They were long and sharp. They quickly stripped the evil spirit energy and souls. That's right, it was so straightforward. She directly pulled out the souls from the protection of the evil spirit energy. Ah! Once the evil spirit warrior's soul was stripped from the evil spirit energy, like a malicious spirit, they let out an incomparably shrill scream and then turned into ashes. Thus, an incomparably strange and gorgeous scene appeared. Hundreds of souls were stripped from the evil spirit energy and turned into distorted faces of light. Just as they entered the air, they dissipated in the air. Hundreds of mournful ghost cries shocked the soul. The entire energy shield seemed to have turned into Shura hell. In just a moment, hundreds of evil spirit warriors present. It didn't matter if Yang Dingtian knew them or if he didn't. It didn't matter if they were originally evil ways or if they had betrayed them later. Their souls were all turned into ashes. Only a few hundred sea of energy that had lost their souls floated in the air, as well as a few hundred ownerless evil spirits. Naga opened her mouth and sucked. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In an instant, hundreds of evil spirits and hundreds of sea of energy were all sucked into her mouth. Suddenly, Naga Schwanger's body became bright and solid. Her beautiful face and devilishly curvy body made her even more alluring and captivating. Hundreds of evil spirits and hundreds of sea of energy were devoured by Naga in just a few seconds. Then, Naga's delicate body began to tremble. Her entire person was in an incomparably comfortable, incomparably satisfying, and incomparably ethereal state. Devouring energy was Naga's greatest pleasure. This trembling and dazed state lasted for a few minutes. Finally, Naga Xuan quieted down, and her gaze fell on Dishibian. Whoosh! A hand of energy suddenly drilled into Dishibian's brain. Then, it drilled into her heart, her Xian meridians, and her sea of energy. Then, as if stripping her clothes, the first-class evil spirit energy was suddenly stripped away inch by inch. Ah! Dishibian let out a long cry of pain. His entire body, his entire face, became distorted. Her snow-white skin cracked inch by inch, and blood gushed out. Finally, in extreme pain, the first-class evil spirit was completely stripped away, like a light and shadow gauze stripped out of the body. At the moment of stripping, Dishibian's beautiful eyes instantly returned to their previous ethereal and bright state. She shouted at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian! Then, she fainted. Looking at her covered in blood, Naga Xuang frowned slightly. Then, she directly took out a third-class evil spirit from the evil spirit tree and planted it into Dishibian's body. Under the effect of the third-class evil spirit, Dishibian's wounds were completely healed in an instant, and she was unscathed. Then, she faintly woke up. When she looked at Yang Dingtian, her gaze became extremely complicated and also filled with guilt. Then, she closed her eyes and simply continued to pretend that she had fainted. Anyway, it was too embarrassing. In the past few years, although her soul had been suppressed by the first-class evil spirit, she remembered clearly what she had done. Naga Xuang would not care about Dishibian's little tricks. She directly stretched out two energy claws. One of the energy hands drilled into Wolingzi's body and stripped the first-class evil spirit. The other hand held the second-class evil spirit, and was ready to seamlessly connect. Wolingzi's mystic meridians were not of the same grade as Dishibian's, so when the first-class evil spirit was stripped, it was much more painful. It was a completely miserable scream. It was fine when the first-class evil spirit was stripped of its brain, but when the mystic meridians were stripped, it was a bloody and terrifying scene. Without the protection of the first-class evil spirit, his mystic meridians could not withstand the saint-level energy, and directly exploded. So, the whole process was a complete mess of flesh and blood. Naga Xuan had no choice but to implant the second-class evil spirit into his body inch by inch. Otherwise, Wolingzi would have died before the energy reserve exploded. Moreover, he could only implant the second-class evil spirit. The third-class evil spirit could not protect him. Just like that, in the midst of an extremely painful scream, the first-class evil spirit was completely stripped from Wolingzi's body. At the same time, the second-class evil spirit was completely implanted into his body. Then, he fainted and fell to the ground. He was not faking it. He really could not bear it and fainted. There was a huge energy gap between a first-class evil spirit and a second-class evil spirit. he needed time to gradually adapt. It's done, Naga Shuang said. I'll take my leave first. Yang Dingtian. Then, I need to go to the Little Western Paradise again. When I come back, I'll immediately send you to the ruins of the Naga Empire. Okay, Naga Shuang said, then closed her beautiful eyes and sat on the bed motionlessly. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and said to Dishibian, Okay, it's time to wake up. Dishibian opened her beautiful eyes and got up from the ground. She lowered her head as if counting ants. As for Wu Lingzi, he was still unconscious. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and helped him up. The three of them walked out of the cave. He brought Wu Lingzi to Vulture's room. Vulture had been waiting for a long time. When she saw Wu Lingzi, she immediately asked, Husband, is he okay? Well, his soul has been liberated, but because he couldn't bear the difference in the energy of the evil spirit, he temporarily fainted. Yang Dingtian, can you wake him up? Vulture nodded and said, Yes, we celestial spirit masters are in charge of souls and energy. Yang Dingtian, well, you wake your father up here. I'll come to see you later. Vulture nodded and said, Okay, thank you, husband. Yang Dingtian took Dishibian and left Vulture's room. I'm sorry, Dishibian said again in Yang Dingtian's office. Yang Dingtian looked at Dishibian. Her skin was snow white before, without a trace of blood. Now it was white with a hint of red. She was very thin before, but now she was still slim, but she was also a little chubby. She looked skinny. Tell me, what's going on? Yang Dingtian. He helped Dishibian sit down and then poured her a cup of tea. Dishibian held the tea with both hands and took a sip. This cup hasn't been used before, right? Dishibian's first sentence made Yang Dingtian roll his eyes. Well, after your soul recovered, your first sentence was such a neat freak. Don't worry, no, Yang Dingtian said. Dishibian took a sip of tea to calm herself down, and then said, At that time, when you and I were fighting Dongli, I found that I was a complete burden and useless, so I was very sad. And you, at that time, wanted to go to the dark realm to cultivate, and you wanted to take me with you. I felt that I would definitely be a burden to you, so I refused. I wanted to find a powerful way by myself. Yang Dingtian. So, you went to the Netherworld Kingdom? Dishibian nodded and said, Because I found that with the Netherworld Ghost Fire, I could directly devour hell magic crystals. So, I went to hunt the undead there. Yang Dingtian. Ghost Emperor Wentian is there. It's not like you didn't know, but you still dared to go. Dishibian said, I thought that since Ghost Emperor Wentian was so far away, as long as I was careful, I would hunt at the border of the Netherworld Kingdom. Moreover, every time I killed for a while, I would leave immediately, thinking that nothing would happen. Yang Dingtian. In the end, you fell into a trap, didn't you? Dishibian nodded and said, I hunted more and more, and my cultivation broke through faster and faster. I was very happy. Then, suddenly one day, in front of me, there were more than a dozen saint-level undead waiting for me, and I fell into a trap. Yang Dingtian said with a smile. Then, Ghost Emperor Wentian handed you over to the Devil Queen. Then, you were forcibly given a first-class evil spirit, and your will was completely suppressed, right? Dishibian nodded in shame. Then, she suddenly looked up and said, By the way, after this incident, if you touch me again, I might not throw up. Maybe if you want to sleep with me, you can. Why don't you give it a try? Yang Dingtian was about to vomit blood. Chapter 1143. The exile of hundreds of thousands of people lasted for a day and a night. Although Yang Dingtian was a 24th level martial saint, maintaining the flood-splitting gate for a day and a night almost exhausted his celestial chi when the last fanatic of the Fox clan rushed into the dark world. Yang Dingtian withdrew his celestial chi and sat on the ground, gasping for breath. Then, Yang Dingtian sat on the ground and absorbed celestial chi to recover his celestial chi. Hundreds of thousands of Fox clan were exiled in the dark world, so they could not enter again unless they had no other choice. As for the Dark Wanderer devouring the dark energy, he could only do it at the abyss border of the first dark realm. After a few hours, Yang Dingtian fully recovered his celestial qi and left the Skull Hall with Vulture, Wilingzi, and Dishibian. At this time, the expeditionary army of millions outside had dispersed, and was brought back to their respective clans by Speaker Neru and Monster Wrath II. The Fox Clan High Priest and the Speechless Clan High Priest also followed to settle the expeditionary army. High Priest Wu was still waiting outside the hall. The imminent crisis of Little Western Paradise had been resolved, but this was only the first step. Next, it was unknown how long it would take to turn the Little Western Paradise back on track. But all of this would be left to Neru, Monster Wrath II, and the priests of the Silver Dragon Temple. "I'll leave the rest to you," Yang Dingtian said to High Priest Wu. The Demon King had been stirring up trouble in Little Western Paradise for only half a year, but the damage he had caused was greater than the Demon King's War of the 9 Clans. The Little Western Paradise had lost nearly 70 martial saints. At present, there were less than 20 martial saints left in the Little Western Paradise except for the Dark Wanderer. Hundreds of demi-saints were lost, which was more than 50% of them. There were also hundreds of thousands of demon fox warriors. A considerable portion of the exiled zealots were high-level demon fox warriors. It could be said that the upheaval this time had caused the loss of more than half of the elites in Little Western Paradise. Nearly 80% of their top forces were lost. In terms of pure martial arts, it was a devastating blow. Moreover, there would be many more deaths and injuries. This was because although many people had left, their hearts were still filled with fanatical racism. Therefore, in order to reverse and unify Little Western Paradise's ideology, who knew how many conflicts and suppressions they would have to go through? Moreover, following this upheaval, the power in the hands of Chairman Neru and Monster Fury II was no longer an absolute advantage. As for the High Priest Association, they had lost more than 60% of their martial strength. As a result, Miju's Dark Wanderer became the strongest martial arts force in Little Western Paradise. High Priest Wu said, "Next, Little Western Paradise will be in chaos for at least a few decades." Yang Dingtian nodded. High Priest Wu said, "In the future, Little Western Paradise may still need your help." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "It's my duty to do so, and to be honest. A large part of the disaster in Little Western Paradise this time was caused by me." Yang Dingtian's words were not nonsense. If he had not helped Yang Dingtian eliminate the Demon King Wentian, and if he had not imprisoned the Demon King Wentian in the Hell Prison, there would not have been such upheavals. The top martial arts force in Little Western Paradise would not have suffered such a devastating blow. High Priest Wu shook her head and said, "Don't say such things. We are already inseparable. Although you brought the Demon King Wentian here, even if you did not bring him here, Wentian would have died. Even if you had not brought him here, you would have brought Little Western Paradise to the abyss of disaster. After the Demon King Wentian destroys you, he will still enter Little Western Paradise." This was true. According to the Demon King's plan, he was supposed to control all the known planes, and Little Western Paradise was no exception. Moreover, if not for Yang Dingtian's appearance, Wentian would have completely dominated Little Western Paradise. It would have only been a matter of time. As for the Dark Wanderers in Miju, I can only try to persuade them," Yang Dingtian said. "I will do my best to persuade them." High Priest Wu said, Yang Dingtian said, "Time is of the essence. I need to leave. Goodbye." High Priest Wu said, "Before Little Western Paradise is completely pacified, or at least before we fully control the Silver Palace, Jia and Yao Yang should stay in the human countries." "Okay," Yang Dingtian said. Then, he led Dishibian, Vulture, and Wilingzi towards Mount Buzhou. All of a sudden, Vulture asked, "Husband, can you open your spatial door on the human kingdom's door? Then you don't have to go around tearing space." Yang Dingtian said, "I haven't tried it, but the journey home from tearing space is the same as going through the human countries." "Oh." Vulture was a little disappointed. Yang Dingtian said, "Next time, I will open a portal in the human countries and see if I can go through." 2,000 miles away from Mount Buzhou. Yang Dingtian summoned all the dark wanderers and entered Mount Buzhou, then tearing space. After tearing space and flying for a few thousand miles, he opened a portal and entered the yin-yang mirror. You guys go home first. I will take Mi Zhu and the others to the abyss border, Yang Dingtian said. Vulture was a little reluctant and wanted to stay with Yang Dingtian. However, Wolingzi was next to him, so he nodded and went back to Dishibian. Wolingzi returned to Cloud Sky City first. Yang Dingtian led Mi Zhu and the other dark wanderers and flew towards the world of ice and snow. After passing through the northernmost part of the world of ice and snow, they arrived at the abyss border of the first dark realm. Yang Dingtian used the void-splitting fire to evolve the abyss border. Then, all the dark wanderers cheered and jumped down. In the transparent crystal-like abyss border, they frantically devoured the dark energy. It had been more than half a year, and he had finally managed to devour the insane amount of dark energy again. Seeing this scene, Yang Dingtian was a little surprised. Usually, after jumping into the purified abyss border, they would directly pass through the abyss border and reach the other side of the abyss. But these dark wanderers, after jumping into the abyss border, actually spun quickly inside and would not be transported to the other side. However, Yang Dingtian did not ask because he did not intend to devour this dark energy. After devouring for a few hours, the dark wanderers were completely satisfied and flew up from the abyss border. Subsequently, all of them sat cross-legged beside Yang Dingtian as though they were digesting and enjoying the lingering charm. After another 4 hours, the dark wanderers finally woke up. Your Excellency Mi Zhu, what do you plan to do next? Yang Dingtian asked. Mi Zhu said, Same as before, hiding in a place where no one knows. When it's time to eat, I'll appear again. Then, he said, Of course, if you need any help, just ask. We will not refuse. Don't be shy, just ask. Living like this is no different from walking corpses, so we are not afraid of death at all. Yang Dingtian said. Little Western Paradise has suffered an unprecedented calamity. Next, President Nehru, Demon's Wrath II, and the Silver Dragon Temple want to completely calm the Little Western Paradise and prepare for the apocalypse 1 or 2,000 years later. However, the thoughts in Little Western Paradise are very chaotic now, and a strong force is needed to calm it down. But in this calamity, almost all the top forces in Little Western Paradise have been wiped out. Therefore, this force of yours is very important. I hope you can help them to calm the Little Western Paradise. Mi Zhu said. You still plan to let the demon foxes live in the human countries before the calamity comes, right? Yang Dingtian nodded and said. Yes, but it must be a demon fox that is no threat, and has even destroyed their own martial arts. I will not put the human countries in danger. Mi Zhu nodded and said. Don't worry, I know what to do. Yang Dingtian said. No, we should. Mi Zhu said. You are very noble. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said. Let's go back to Little Western Paradise. Then Yang Dingtian took the Dark Wanderer and flew for tens of thousands of miles into the torn space. Then, they flew for tens of thousands of miles through the torn space and entered the Buzhou mountain domain. Finally, they entered the Little Western Paradise. Goodbye. Yang Dingtian said. Goodbye. Mi Zhu stepped forward and hugged Yang Dingtian, saying, Don't worry, I won't let you down. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, I kind of hope that you can reunite with your mother-in-law Nehru. Mi Zhu blushed, then shook her head and said, That's impossible. My state of mind is no longer the same. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything and just smiled. Then, he turned around and flew towards the Buzhou mountain domain. Then, he entered the torn space and returned to the human countries. In just a few days, Yang Dingtian had traveled hundreds of thousands of miles. After returning to Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian didn't go directly to Naga. Instead, he finally sat down with his family and had a meal. This was probably the first time that Yang Dingtian's family was all present. From Jia Yaoyang to Master's wife, to Master, to Little Ningning, to his mother-in-law Yang Peipei, to Qin Mingli, and so on. Ning Ro had given birth for a few months, but it was Yang Dingtian's first time seeing her. She wanted to give birth to a son, but in the end, she gave birth to a beautiful little girl. Fortunately, this little girl was very quiet and obedient. She didn't seem to be as naughty as Yang Ning. Yang Dingtian really felt very guilty towards her. When Ning Roer gave birth to her second baby, not only was he not by her side. At that time, the entire human countries were in a state of panic and disaster. When everyone returned to Cloud Sky City, Ning Roer, who had just given birth, was still recuperating in the Netherworld Sea. Because at that time, Cloud Sky City was still under the terrifying influence of the Demon King. When Ning Roer returned to Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian had been traveling hundreds of thousands of miles again. Therefore, even though the baby had been born for a few months, Yang Dingtian had yet to see her or hug her. This time, with a big table full of food, Yang Dingtian could finally hug this baby that was filled with the fragrance of milk. The mermaid Queen Violet's belly was very big, but she still hadn't given birth. She had been pregnant for almost 2 years, but she still hadn't given birth. And Violet's didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. During this family banquet, Dishi Bien sat quietly beside Wu Maji. Although she didn't say anything, she didn't look embarrassed at all. It was as if Wu Maji didn't force her to come. In fact, Wu Maji didn't want to drag Dishi Bien into the family anymore. As a snob, she felt that Dishi Bien was no longer of much help to Yang Dingtian in martial arts. If she married Yang Dingtian, she would have another competitor for his favor. Of course, their relationship was still very good. Furthermore, seeing that Dishi Bien still followed her lead, it didn't seem that bad if she married into the family. Just like that, listening to the children's chattering, eating and drinking together, it was really the joy of a family reunion. After the family reunion banquet, Yang Dingtian didn't sleep with everyone. He went straight to Naga Shuang and said, "Let's go, I'll send you back to the ruins." Chapter 1144. In fact, when Yang Dingtian left, Yan Yan and the others' eyes were filled with grief, especially Wu Maji. Her eyes were almost spitting fire. Vulture even took the initiative to ask her husband to rest early tonight. Yang Dingtian also wanted to. She had been holding it in for a few months, but he did not dare. Yes, he did not dare. Before Naga left, he did not dare to be intimate with his wife. He was afraid that Naga would kill him if she did not like him. When Yang Dingtian entered the cave, Naga Shuang was still sitting cross-legged on the stone bed, motionless. "Let's go, I'll send you back to the ruins," Yang Dingtian said. Naga Shuang opened her beautiful eyes, then got down from the stone bed and said, "Let's go." This time, Naga did not directly carry Yang Dingtian and fly like lightning. Instead, she flew into the sky with Yang Dingtian and flew toward the Southeast Sea. A day later, the two of them flew to the Eastern Sea and dove into the deep sea. This time, Naga did not directly transform into her Naga form, nor did she swim like lightning with Yang Dingtian in her mouth. Instead, she remained in her beautiful human form and swam with Yang Dingtian at the bottom of the sea, maintaining the same speed. It was just that she directly disintegrated her clothes, completely revealing her peerlessly beautiful celestial body. In fact, only the spiritual type Naga liked to maintain her human form and wear clothes at all times. As long as it was allowed, the pugilist Naga preferred to maintain her Naga form. Even in human form, they did not like to wear clothes. They hated any kind of restraint. They swam for a few days and nights at the bottom of the sea. Yang Dingtian and Naga Shuang once again arrived at the ruins of the ancient Sea Serpent Empire's capital city. There were still countless sea serpent fossils inside, which had not changed for tens of thousands of years. However, they had already lost their empress. Soon, the two of them arrived at the palace of the Sea Serpent Empire. At this time, the statue of the Sea Snake Queen had already disappeared, and a huge crystal ball was quietly placed on the throne. Naga stepped forward and picked up the crystal ball. The crystal ball was originally very large, with a diameter of 5 meters. However, in Naga Shuang's hand, it rapidly shrank until it was only half the size of Naga Shuang's snow-white palm. Then, Naga injected a stream of consciousness and energy into the crystal ball. Suddenly, the entire huge imperial palace trembled violently, and violently. Then, the ground in the center of the hall began to collapse. Boom, boom, boom! A circular crack appeared in the center of the palace that spanned tens of thousands of meters. Then, an incomparably mysterious and beautiful light suddenly shot out from the crack. This was an energy channel. Seeing this scene, Yang Dingtian said in surprise, "This energy channel leads directly to the ruins of the old Naga Empire?" Naga Shuang nodded and said, "This energy channel has always been there. This crystal ball is only the key to opening the energy channel. The crystal ball in the ruins of the old Naga Empire should have been completely destroyed, so it can't directly return to the demon capital from the ruins." Yang Dingtian asked, "Any Naga can open the crystal ball?" Naga Shuang said, "Of course, any Naga is the supreme master of the Sea Serpent Empress." Yang Dingtian said, "In other words, you can enter the ruins of the old Naga Empire by yourself, and don't need me to come with you." "Yes," Naga Shuang said. Yang Dingtian fell silent and did not directly ask why she wanted him to come with her. After a long time, Yang Dingtian said, "That's good too. Then you can go back. I'll send you here." Naga Shuang said, "You're not going to the ruins of the old Naga Empire with me?" Yang Dingtian shook his head. Naga Shuang fell silent and then said, "You're going to completely cut ties with me?" The Nagas were very direct with their words. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "Yes." Naga Shuang asked, "Why?" However, before Yang Dingtian could answer, she said, "Is it because you feel that I've betrayed our relationship?" Yang Dingtian nodded. Naga Shuang sneered and said, "Yang Dingtian, how many wives do you have? If I betrayed our relationship, then what are you? Are you loyal enough to your relationship?" Yang Dingtian was speechless. Of course, it was definitely not because of guilt. Although he had married a few wives, he was definitely not loyal to one. However, if he weighed the love and care for a woman, he really could not say that he had betrayed her. Moreover, he was no longer a child. No matter what, he had to win the argument, so there was no need to explain to Naga Shuang. After a moment of silence, Naga Shuang said, "Yang Dingtian, may I ask what you're going to do next?" Yang Dingtian said, "I'm going to the soul-leaving palace to find a way to save Dongfang Bingling. Then I'm going to find the truth of this world and finally stop the destruction of this world." Naga Shuang said, "That's a very great ambition. Each goal is greater than the last." Yang Dingtian laughed at himself, and did not say anything. Naga Shuang said, "But the soul-leaving palace is the territory of the only surviving Medusa. With your current cultivation level, you're going to the soul-leaving palace?" Yang Dingtian said, "If I go, it might not necessarily be to fight. It might also be to reason with her. Don't be naive." Naga Shuang sneered and said, "In this world, only strength is real. What reason do you have?" "There's no reason," Yang Dingtian said. "Although that's true, I've been weak since I was young until I destroyed the Demon King. Most of the time, I relied on righteousness, reason, and other people's help, not strength. With my own strength, the Demon King can crush me to death with a single finger." Naga Shuang said, "The biggest reason you were able to destroy the Demon King was because of me." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "Yes, this also proves my words." Because of Yang Dingtian's absolutely cold tone, the anger in Naga Shuang's beautiful eyes grew stronger and stronger. Then Naga Shuang said, "Now let me tell you my opinion. How about it?" Yang Dingtian, "Okay." Naga Shuang said, "If you can't find the soul-leaving palace now, you won't even have the chance to die. Many people in this world have been to the soul-leaving palace, but they can't go because they want to. They're all summoned." Yang Dingtian did not deny this point. In fact, until now, Yang Dingtian did not know where the soul-leaving palace was. No one knew either, including Wentian and Shimen Wuya. Naga Shuang said, "One day, I will definitely go to the soul-leaving palace." Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly surprised. He had gone to the soul-leaving palace to pursue the truth, to save Dong Fang Bingling. Why did Naga Shuang want to go to the soul-leaving palace? Naga Shuang said. Medusa betrayed the Naga Empire in the end. She must be punished. Yang Dingtian. Just for this reason? Naga Shuang was silent for a moment, then said, In this world, only one true demigod is allowed to exist. Her words were incomparably cold. This was the true reason in her heart. If the entire Naga Empire existed, then Duga Shuang would do her best to climb up and become stronger. However, if there were only 2 Naga in this world, then sorry. A world could accommodate a few hundred demigods, but it could not accommodate 2. However, it definitely couldn't accommodate 2. If there were only 2, then there would only be 1 in the end. Yang Dingtian immediately thought of his son. He already had 2 demigod sons, Yang Yi and Yao Yang. He didn't know whether it was a son or a daughter in the womb of the mermaid queen, Violets. Yang Dingtian didn't expect Naga Shuang's attitude to be so strong. Suddenly, he couldn't help but feel a wave of fear. Naga Shuang was in Sky City at that time, and his 3 demigod children were less than 10,000 meters away from her. With her temperament, wouldn't she have been tempted a few times? Naga Shuang said. I know what you're thinking. You're worried about your 3 demigod children. Yang Dingtian's expression changed. If Naga Shuang decided to do something, Yang Dingtian couldn't stop her. Naga Shuang said, Don't worry. If I wanted to kill your 3 children, I would have done it long ago. No one in this world can stop me. Your 3 children are all demigod descendants, but that's it. In this world, there's no energy environment that can help them break through to the demigod level. The ruins of the old Naga Empire are their last chance. That's right, it was true. Yang Dingtian immediately let out a long sigh of relief. Although Naga Shuang's tone made him uncomfortable, at least it meant that she wouldn't do anything to his children. The 2 of them were silent for a long time. Naga Shuang said, Husband, you want to go to the soul-leaving temple, you want to save Dong Fang Bingling, you want to destroy Medusa, you want to find the truth of the world. There's a condition that you have to fulfill, and that is to break through to the demigod level. Breaking through to the demigod level would allow him to see Medusa? What kind of theory was that? Moreover, she kept saying that she was the only demigod in this world. If he became a demigod, wouldn't there still be 2? Of course, Yang Dingtian knows that once Naga and Naga Shuang become one, they will share the same fate. They will share energy and life, and that's why the 2 demigods will become one. Naga Shuang continued. Why doesn't anyone know where the soul-leaving temple is? Why hasn't anyone seen Medusa before? It's because no one is qualified to see her. Only when you and Medusa are both demigods, you have the right to appear before her. If not, you can only wait for her to summon you. What Naga Shuang said makes sense. It's like a low-level programmer and Microsoft's CEO. The programmer does not have the right to see Microsoft's CEO, and he doesn't even know where he is. But when the programmer becomes Google's CEO, he will be on equal footing with Microsoft's CEO. Regardless of whether Microsoft's CEO is in his villa or on his private jet, the programmer will be able to see him. Even if they are competitors and enemies. Naga's world is very hierarchical. Of course, the human countries are similar. But Naga's world is more straightforward and not hypocritical. Naga Shuang continued. Even if I become a demigod, I will not be Medusa's match. However, as long as you break through to the demigod realm, the 2 of us demigods might be able to kill Medusa. Medusa's death? Hearing this, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but frown. Although the soul-leaving palace seemed to be in control of everything and Medusa was playing an extremely mysterious role, Yang Dingtian didn't have the confidence to kill Medusa before he was clear of the situation. Furthermore, she is Shimin Ningning's mother. In Naga Shuang's heart, Medusa is someone she must kill. Naga Shuang said. Husband, I know you have been disappointed. I have been avoiding being with you even though you have never said anything. Now I can tell you that I will definitely combine with you. Definitely, you will definitely share my demigod body. Yang Dingtian's eyelids twitched when he heard about being with her. Chapter 1145. You are my one and only love in this life, and that will never change, Naga Shuang said. We Naga will always be faithful to one person, and we will always be loyal to our feelings. The Demon King's words suddenly rang in Yang Dingtian's mind. It was true that Naga were always loyal to their partners, but that was because they shared life and energy, and had nothing to do with feelings. Naga Shuang continued, That's why we will definitely become one, but not now. The Demon King is right. If we become one now, I will lose too much energy. Yang Dingtian said. My cultivation has already reached the limit of what my Xian veins can reach. It can't go any higher. Naga Shuang said. That's right, that's true. If you continue to devour Xian energy, your energy reserve won't be able to hold it, and it will all sink into the abyss of your energy reserve. However, that energy will still belong to you. When your talent breaks through, that is, when you and I become one, that energy will still surge out and become our shared energy. Yang Dingtian said. In other words, if I continue to devour as much energy as I can, it will be stored in the depths of my energy reserve. When my energy reserve is about the same as yours, we will become one. That way, you will lose the least amount of energy? Naga Shuang said. No, we will become one after I successfully break through to the demigod realm. In that case, my soul and body imprint will have entered the demigod realm. Although I will still lose a lot of energy after I become one with you, and my cultivation will regress a lot, to the point where it might not even be as good as it is now. But at the very least, my soul and body imprint will have reached the demigod realm. Yang Dingtian asked. What's the difference? Naga Shuang said. As long as I have reached the demigod realm, that demigod realm will leave its imprint in my body, my energy reserve, and my soul. Even if I become one with you, I will lose most of my energy. I can make up for it by devouring any energy, and return to the demigod realm, even the most ordinary Xian energy in the human world. However, if I were to combine with you now, my cultivation would degenerate a lot. In that case, it might take a long time for me to break through to the demigod realm. By that time, the ruins of the old Naga Empire might have been reduced to ashes. Without this density of energy, I will never be able to break through to demigod anywhere else. Yang Dingtian understood. Breaking through to the saint realm required energy density. Breaking through to the demigod realm also required energy density. The human nations had lost this density a few hundred years ago. Therefore, it was impossible to reach the saint level if one cultivated normally in the human nations. And the ruins of the old Naga Empire were the only energy environment where one could break through to demigod. The Naga Shuang was racing against time to devour and break through to the demigod realm in the shortest time possible because it could turn into ashes at any moment. If he delayed for a day or two, he might lose the chance to break through to demigod forever. However, if she were to combine with Yang Dingtian now, it would not just be a matter of 1 or 2 days, but a very, very long time. Yang Dingtian considered it from the perspective of Naga. She was indeed racing against the ruins of the old Naga Empire. If the ruins were completely destroyed before she broke through to demigod realm, she would lose the chance forever. And this time, when she went to help Yang Dingtian eliminate the Demon King, she wasted half a month's time. This was a heart-wrenching pain for Naga. Therefore, she coveted the energy in the Demon King's body so much. However, Yang Dingtian could understand her greed for energy. He was willing to believe that she did not kill the Demon King because she wanted to scheme against him and obtain the Demon King's energy. He also believed that Yang Dingtian was sincere in letting her possess the Demon King's energy, even though she could not find any way to do it. However, after devouring the primordial evil spirit, she left without a trace and directly threw herself to the Demon King to possess. This was really unforgivable. Even if he said it to the heavens, it could not be reconciled. Yang Dingtian thought about it from the beginning to the end, but he still could not pass the test in his heart. Moreover, once he combined with Naga, Naga would share his life and everything. He would never be able to separate them. At this moment, Yang Dingtian really could not do it. Yang Dingtian said, "To be honest, I was very eager to combine with you before, because I wanted to destroy the Demon King. But now that the Demon King is dead, I am no longer anxious about this matter." Naga's expression changed and said, "What do you mean? Do you no longer have any desire for energy and cultivation?" Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "Yes, I have no desire. I used to have a huge desire to become stronger. Especially when I was escaping from Yin Yang's school, especially when I was fighting for the position of Cloud Sky City Lord. But after that, my desire to become stronger was very weak. The Demon King is already dead. No matter how strong I become, there is no meaning. I might not even fight with anyone in this life." Naga Shuang immediately sneered and said, "Then what about Queen Medusa of the Soul-Leaving Palace?" Yang Dingtian said, "I vaguely feel that there is no need for me to fight with her." "Naive and ridiculous," Naga Shuang said. Yang Dingtian said, "So, I have already decided. You go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire alone. I will return to the human countries and find a way to the Soul-Leaving Palace." Naga Shuang's pupils constricted and she said coldly, "You mean you don't just want me to go to the ruins alone? Moreover, you want me to be trapped in the ruins for the rest of my life, unable to leave or enter the human countries. Even if the ruins of the Naga Empire are destroyed, I will be trapped in that plane forever." When she said this, Naga's voice was extremely cold. Her beautiful eyes also became dangerous as she stared at Yang Dingtian, waiting for his answer. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "That's right." In an instant, Naga slowly transformed from a beautiful woman to a ferocious and terrifying Naga. She said word by word, "Yang Dingtian, you want to imprison me for life?" Yang Dingtian said, "No, I don't want to imprison you for life. You are the one who imprisons yourself for life. In the ruins of the old Naga Empire, you are the only one who reigns supreme. In the human countries, you are still the only one who reigns supreme. Other than you, all other lives are ants. So, what is the difference between being in the ruins of the old Naga Empire and being in the human countries?" Naga's eyes became more and more dangerous. The gorgeous barbs on the back of her neck stood up one by one. "Yang Dingtian, you want to imprison me," Naga said word by word. "If you can do it, you will even want to kill me to prevent me from harming your family, right?" When she said this, Naga was already filled with murderous intent. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "You think too highly of me. Just because I am worried that others will harm me, I will take someone's life. I am not that arrogant. You are the arrogant one. Just because Medusa is the second demigod, you want to kill her." Naga sneered and said, "If you can do it? Don't you want to kill me? Tell me the truth, Yang Dingtian. You think too much." Yang Dingtian said coldly, "I want to imprison you, but I don't want to kill you." Naga Shuang's figure grew bigger and bigger, and finally turned into a dragon-shaped behemoth hundreds of meters long, looking down at Yang Dingtian. "Yang Dingtian, do you like to reason with people?" Suddenly, Naga sneered and said sarcastically. Yang Dingtian said, "Yes, when you can't beat someone, you can only reason with them." Naga Shuang said, "But we, Naga, have never been reasonable. Everything you said just now is good, but it is meaningless. Don't even think about going back to the human countries. Do you think I will let you go?" Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly and said, "In my opinion, I am not very useful to you at all." Naga Shuang said, "You are my only partner. For you, your family and the human countries are your everything. But for me, for now, you are my everything. How can I let you go? I won't kill your family, but I can imprison you by my side." Yang Dingtian said, "You are worried that you can't take the damage when you are in heat, right?" Naga Shuang sneered, "You can say whatever you want. Anyway, you don't trust me anymore. Anyway, we have already shed all pretense of cordiality. I can just directly take you away. Do you have the ability to resist?" Yang Dingtian's complexion changed as he was about to flash away. Naga Shuang opened her mouth and sucked in. In an instant, Yang Dingtian was completely out of control and was sucked into her stomach. Naga Shuang said coldly. Humans like to talk nonsense as if it is of any use. My dear husband, you are no exception. We Naga like to be straightforward. I have tolerated you for a long time. Also, it doesn't matter if you believe me or not. What I'm telling you is true. With that, Naga Shuang dived into the energy channel. The moment she left, Naga Shuang swung her tail and smashed the crystal that opened the energy channel. Because Queen Poisa could also enter the ruins of the old Naga Empire through this crystal ball. And Naga Shuang did not want a third person to enter the ruins. Whoosh 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 whoosh, she shuttled through the energy channel at an extremely fast speed. It seemed like a long time, but also like only a few minutes. The extremely fast shuttling was over. This was not a spatial technique, but an energy shuttling. It was still using extreme speed in exchange for long-distance travel. Naga Shuang rushed out of the energy channel and flew into the ruins of the old Naga Empire. My energy, my old Naga Empire ruins. It is all mine, all mine. Yang Dingtian, I have delayed my devouring for half a month because of you. Perhaps it is because of this that I could not break through to the demigod level. I have sacrificed so much for you. What more do you want? What more do you want? This is the best. It is best to shed all pretense of cordiality. I don't have to be careful anymore. I don't have to be gentle anymore. I can do whatever I want. I don't even have to consider your feelings. I don't have to transform into a vulgar human girl. I don't have to please you anymore. I will never please you again. Then Naga Shuang dived into the energy crystal of the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Without wasting a minute, she began to look for the next energy channel. In just an hour, she found it. Then, she began to enjoy the solidified celestial chi crystals. Energy was the best. Energy was the most real. Naga greedily and obsessively devoured the energy that was hundreds of thousands of times more concentrated. And Yang Dingtian, who was in Naga's stomach, was constantly pouring powerful celestial chi into his energy reserve, whether he was willing or not. Naga Shuang shed all pretense of cordiality and forced herself on him. Dongli Grassland, under the abandoned pyramid. Under the trial of the Council of Light, Queen Hai Xian was convicted of war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and dozens of other major crimes. Originally, such a heinous crime should have been sentenced to death. However, because she was the daughter of the ancient Sea Snake Empress, to a large extent, the death of the Sea Snake Empress for Yang Dingtian offset Hai Xian's death. Therefore, Queen Hai Xian was sentenced to life imprisonment. That's right, life imprisonment. And her energy prison was under the pyramid of the Dongli Grassland. It was jointly built by the 4 saint-level experts, Queen Poisa, Wu Yu, the Mermaid Queen, and Vulture. Moreover, all the energy in her body had been imprisoned. Therefore, she would never, ever be able to escape. No matter how unwilling she was, no matter how ambitious she was, Queen Hai Xian was imprisoned. This pyramid used to be her bedroom. However, at that time, she was at the top of the pyramid. And now, she was in the underground prison of the pyramid. Queen Poisa personally escorted her into the energy prison. I will come to see you once every month, Poisa said softly. Hai Xian was the only family she had left. Queen Hai Xian nodded. Poisa and the other 3 closed the energy prison layer by layer. Then, Queen Poisa was the last to leave. Suddenly, Queen Hai Xian said, Sister, remember to marry Yang Dingtian and give birth to a sea serpent race Naga. Even at this time, she still did not give up and still wanted to revitalize the sea serpent race. Queen Poisa shook her head and said, It's impossible. Yang Dingtian won't be able to get over it. Queen Hai Xian said, I've already heard about the rift between Naga and Yang Dingtian. It's impossible for her and Yang Dingtian to be together. Even Hai Xian knew about Naga and Yang Dingtian. It seemed that the Demon King did not hide this matter from her. Queen Poisa still shook her head and said, Don't worry, I will take good care of the sisters of the Snake People race. I will let the race continue, but it can only be an ordinary race. Then Queen Poisa left. Queen Hyaxian shook her head in the prison. Her sister had always been like this. She had no ambition. Otherwise, why would she frame and replace her that day? However, no matter how unwilling Hyaxian was, she could not do anything. She could only be imprisoned under this pyramid for the rest of her life. Unfortunately, she did not know about the legend of the white snake. Otherwise, she would definitely be speechless. Bai Suzhen was suppressed under Lei Feng Tower. And she, Hyaxian, was suppressed under the pyramid. Just like that, day after day, month after month. Yang Dingtian still did not return. Queen Poisa and Vulture had already gone to the ruins of the ancient Sea Serpent Empire to search. In the main hall of the demon capital, Poisa saw crystal ball fragments all over the ground. They knew that Yang Dingtian had been kidnapped by the Naga Shuang to the ruins of the old Naga Empire. However, this was the only place they could find. Because they did not have spatial skills and the crystal ball was shattered, they could not go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Therefore, Queen Poisa chose to wait here. Fortunately, the Naga Shuang was only kidnapped and would not hurt Yang Dingtian. Poisa was waiting in the main hall of the ancient Sea Serpent Empire, so she could not visit Queen Hyaxian. For the first 2 or 3 months, Poisa came on time. Then, she never appeared again. After being imprisoned for so many years, Queen Seaheart had nearly gone insane. Therefore, every time Poisa came to visit, it was the moment she looked forward to the most. Although the two of them would not say anything when Poisa came. Even if they could talk, it was mostly Queen Hyaxian who was mocking and ridiculing her. However, this was almost the only time Queen Hyaxian was happy. However, Queen Poisa never came again. Day after day, month after month of imprisonment. Queen Seaheart was about to go crazy. Completely and utterly crazy. It was an endless torment. If she had known this would happen, she would have let Yang Dingtian kill her. In this torment, Queen Hyaxian could only try her best to fall asleep. However, even if she was a serpent person, she could not sleep all day long. Just like that, she kept sleeping. Every day, it was as if she was half awake. Suddenly, one day, she vaguely felt that she was being dragged out of the prison by an incomparably powerful force. Then, she kept shuttling in a space, shuttling. Throughout the whole process, she was still half awake. She did not know if it was real or an illusion. Just like that, she flew aimlessly. When everything was over, she realized that she was no longer in the prison. That's right, this was no longer the energy prison under the pyramid. It was a broken temple. That's right, a broken temple with an indescribable history. Perhaps thousands of years, perhaps even longer. There was only one such broken temple, and that was the soul-leaving temple. That's right, the soul-leaving temple. Chapter 1146. Queen Hyaxian slowly woke up. She was almost certain that this was the most mysterious place in the chaotic world, soul-leaving palace. It really looked old and worn out. Of course, it was only old, but not broken. It was surrounded by walls on all 4 sides. There were no windows or doors. Oh, to be precise, there were windows. A row of windows made of white paper. And upon closer inspection, there was a door. It was just the same color as the walls. It was hard to see. Inside, there was no one. Queen Hyaxian climbed up and began to observe everything in the soul-leaving palace. Other than 2 huge Buddha statues, there was nothing else inside. These 2 Buddha statues were huge. They were about 40 to 50 feet tall. Hyaxian wanted to go behind the Buddha statues to see what was behind the soul-leaving palace. In the end, she couldn't do it at all. Because, as long as she moved, the Buddha statues would move. The Buddha statues would move, and the entire soul-leaving palace would move. So, Queen Hyaxian could only face the Buddha statues forever. She would never be able to go behind the Buddha statues and see what was behind the Buddha statues. After persevering for 2 hours, Queen Hyaxian gave up. Then, she tried to push open the window. When Queen Poisa came to the soul-leaving palace, she used all her strength but still couldn't open the window. But the Queen of the Sea Heart easily pushed him away. But, after pushing open a window, there was still a closed window in front. Queen Hyexian pushed it open again. There was still a closed window in front. Hyexian kept pushing, and pushing. She didn't know how many times she pushed open the window. Every time, she easily pushed it open. But every time, there was a closed window in front of her. Queen Hyexian came to the door again and pushed hard. Again, she easily pushed it open. But after pushing it open, there was still an identical door in front of her that was closed. Hyexian pushed it open again. There was still a closed door in front of her. Finally, Hyexian gave up. She couldn't push open the door or the window. She also couldn't go behind the Buddha statues. When they were in the soul-leaving palace, Poisa didn't tell Hyexian everything. However, halfway through, Poisa asked Hyexian to inquire about some things, especially about Dugu Zhao's daughter, Dugu Shuang'er. Then, Dugu Shuang'er became demigod Naga. Therefore, Queen Sihar definitely knew that her sister had been summoned to the soul-departing palace during the time she had disappeared. The Naga Dugu Shuang was born at that time. In this world, only Yang Dingtian alone could make the Naga tribe go into estrus and give birth to the demigod Naga. But decades ago, Yang Dingtian had not yet come to the Chaos world, so the one who made Poisa give birth to Naga was definitely not Yang Dingtian. Moreover, even if Queen Poisa gave birth to Naga Shuang at that time, she was still a virgin. Therefore, it could be seen that Poisa's pregnancy was not through normal intercourse between a man and a woman. How did the soul-leaving palace do it? In particular, why did the soul-leaving palace summon her? Thinking of this, Queen Hyexian was a little terrified, but also a little excited. Because in history, everyone who entered the soul-leaving palace had obtained incomparably powerful energy and benefits. And her barrier Queen Poisa had given birth to Naga after entering the soul-leaving palace. Queen Hyexian hoped that the soul-leaving palace had not summoned her to give birth to Naga. She hoped that she could become strong and not just the tool of production. Looking at the Naga Shuang's attitude towards Poisa, she knew that Naga did not have a mother, nor did she recognize any blood relations. And it was said that the master of the soul-leaving palace was the ancient Naga Empire's Queen Medusa. Thinking of this, Queen Hyexian could not help but be a little more excited. After that, the Queen of the Sea Heart waiting for a miracle to befall her. Time passed day by day. Nothing happened. Still, no one appeared, no sound, and no miracle befell. In the entire soul-leaving palace, there was still only Queen Hyexian alone. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, half a month, 1 month. In this kind of waiting and suffering, Queen Hyexian was about to go crazy. What was the difference between this and the energy prison under the pyramid? Just like this, day after day, month after month. Queen Hyexian was about to go crazy. Then, she once again entered a half-awake state. Finally, one day, she was still in a half-awake state. Suddenly, the Buddha statue on the left of the soul-leaving palace began to change, turning into a stone statue with a human face and a snake body. Although it was a human face, it was still hard to see the face clearly. This was because her face was constantly changing, almost changing 2 to 3 times every second. Therefore, she was constantly changing her face. And every strand of her hair was a thin little snake. Queen Hyexian's heart trembled. Was this stone statue in front of her Queen Medusa? You are Snake Hyexian, Naga's incubation candidate, right? Suddenly, the stone statue said. Queen Hyexian's heart was instantly filled with fear, excitement, and fear. Of course, it was more of a dreamy and unreal feeling. Yes. Hyexian involuntarily knelt down. The stone statue with a human face and a snake body said, This time, the one who summoned you here needs you to do something. Yes. Hyexian said. The stone statue with a human face and a snake body said, Before doing this, I need to bestow upon you a set of techniques, the Energy Universe Technique. Queen Hai-Xian's heart was suddenly filled with shock. The Energy Universe technique was a top-secret technique belonging to Naga. Why was Naga able to turn the entire land of Naga Empire into a type of energy crystal, transforming the entire Naga Empire into a gigantic crystal energy array, swallowing the entire world's energy? This was the Energy Universe technique. This technique could turn all matter into energy. It could be said that the destruction of the Naga Empire and the Great Nirvana 10,000 years ago were all due to the Energy Universe technique. Therefore, the Energy Universe technique was the foundation of the rise of the Naga Empire, and also the cause of its destruction. Now, this stone statue with a human face and a snake body actually wanted to teach this terrifying technique to Queen Hai-Xian. There were already a few people who had come to the soul-leaving palace, but none of them had obtained anything as terrifying as the Energy Universe technique. Instantly, Queen Hai-Xian desperately knelt down and called out, "Are you ready?" The stone statue with a human face and a snake body asked. Queen Hai-Xian nodded and said, "Yes, I am ready." Just as she finished speaking, in an instant, endless energy, endless information, and endless codes surged into her brain and body. In the blink of an eye, Queen Seaheart lost all of her divine sense. Her entire body had become a computer, with endless information and files being transmitted, to the point that the CPU and hard disk were all occupied, and the entire computer entered a state of suspended animation. After an unknown amount of time, finally, the transmission of information ended. Queen Hai-Xian naturally learned the Energy Universe technique, and did not need to understand the principles behind it. It was equivalent to downloading a software into a computer, and all she had to do was open it and run it. After the Energy Universe technique transmission ended, Queen Hai-Xian faintly woke up after an unknown amount of time. Then, she realized that she was no longer in the soul-leaving palace, but still in the energy prison under the pyramid. Previously, the few months in the soul-leaving temple seemed to be a dream. Hence, Queen Hai-Xian hurriedly searched for the Energy Universe technique in her brain. That's right, the entire Energy Universe technique was already engraved in her brain, Energy C, and Xian meridians. She could use it at any time. She even realized that in her brain, there was not only the Energy Universe technique, but also other very important things. These things were all engraved in her brain, but they were currently blocked and could not be opened. Queen Hai-Xian tried to explore the contents of this part of her brain, but instantly had a splitting headache, and she almost fainted. Hence, she quickly gave up on this idea. Then, a thought, or rather, an order, came into her mind. Leave the energy prison of the pyramid, leave the Dongli grassland, and head to the ruins of the ancient Sea Serpent Empire. Without a doubt, this was the brain imprint left by the soul-leaving palace, and it was also an order. However, now that she was trapped in the energy prison, how could she leave? Then, Queen Hai-Xian realized. The equations of the energy prison were not worth mentioning in front of the Energy Universe technique, and could be easily broken. Then, Queen Hai-Xian used the Energy Universe technique to break layer after layer of the energy prison effortlessly. Furthermore, she realized that her imprisoned Xian meridians and Energy C had completely recovered. However, her cultivation was still at the peak of the half-saint realm, and she had not broken through to the saint realm. In just 15 minutes, Queen Hai-Xian had broken all the energy prison, and then directly flew out of the pyramid that once belonged to the Serpent Empire's palace, and flew towards the Southeast Sea. She flew for close to 100,000 miles, and then swam for an unknown distance under the water. Finally, Queen Hai-Xian came to the gate of the Devil Capital once again. After more than half a month, she finally came to the ruins of the ancient Sea Serpent Empire's Devil Capital once again. Head to the Sea Serpent Empire's palace. Just as she entered the Devil Capital, Queen Hai-Xian's brain seemed to have been unsealed, and a new order was issued. Thus, Queen Hai-Xian followed the soul-leaving palace's order and went to the Sea Serpent Empire's palace's main hall. Along the way, she passed by countless sea serpent fossils. Her heart beat violently, because she realized that using the Energy Universe technique could turn these fossils into pure energy bodies, and then provide for her to devour. In other words, she could easily break through the peak of the Saint realm, and reach the limit of the serpent race. However, because of the soul-leaving palace's order, she did not dare to act rashly. Using her fastest speed, she rushed to the Sea Serpent Empire's palace's main hall. At first glance, she saw Queen Poisa sitting there with her eyes closed. In her brain, the soul-leaving palace's new order was unlocked. Use the energy universe technique to repair the crystal ball, and head to the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Queen Hyexian was surprised. What did the soul-leaving palace want to do with this series of missions? Chapter 1147. The moment Hyexian entered the hall, Queen Poisa opened her beautiful eyes. When she saw Hyexian, she was surprised. "Why are you here? How did you escape from the energy prison of the pyramid?" Poisa suddenly got up and said coldly. Hyexian didn't know how to answer. Poisa said, "You have committed a heinous crime. If it weren't for Mother sacrificing herself for Yang Dingtian, you would have died long ago. Sentencing you to life imprisonment is already lenient, but you dare to escape." After saying that, Poisa stepped forward and was about to capture Hyexian. Hyexian was still a little guilty, but when she heard Poisa mention Yang Dingtian, she couldn't help but sneer. "Sister, don't forget, you are a Naga, not a human." "Yes, from the perspective of a human, I have committed a heinous crime. But from the perspective of the Naga race and the Sea Serpent race? Not only am I not guilty, but I have been working hard and fighting for the strength of the Naga race." Then Hyexian said angrily, "What about you, my good sister? Have you done anything for the Naga race?" "Oh, of course, a long time ago, all of us Naga race were taken care of by you. But later on, you were wholeheartedly devoted to Yang Dingtian. Did you even consider the benefits of our Snake Man race? You are the traitor of our Naga race." Hearing Hyexian's words, Poisa was not angry. She just sneered and said, "Then who killed all the Naga race? Who was it that protected the surviving members of the Naga tribe?" "That's right, the Snake Man Empire had been destroyed by Hyexian," Poison Shah said. "It's your ambition that has caused the deaths of countless serpent men. I'm not as ambitious as you. I don't want the Naga tribe to dominate the world. I just want the Naga tribe to become an ordinary tribe and enjoy peace with the other tribes." "Ha!" Queen Hyexian laughed coldly. "My good sister, you are too childish. You are completely childish to the extreme. This world was a world of mutual deception, where only the fittest survived. Only the strong had the right to survive. You want the Mermaid Clan, Naga Clan, Half-Human Clan, Demon Fox Clan, and humans to live together in harmony? The energy of this world and the living space of this world were only so big. If they wanted to survive, they had to destroy the other races. Wake up, my sister. This is a world of life and death." Hearing this, Poisa immediately frowned and said coldly, "It seems that Yang Dingtian shouldn't have sentenced you to life imprisonment for the sake of Mother and me. He should have upheld the original sentence." "Execute me?" Hyexian's expression changed dramatically. Poisa said, "If you continue to be so ambitious and don't know what's good for you." Queen Hyexian didn't continue to provoke Poisa, because after all, the current Poisa's cultivation was higher than hers. In fact, when Yang Dingtian destroyed the Demon King, Queen Hyexian's ambition had already been extinguished. However, the years of imprisonment in the energy prison made her extremely restless. Then, the soul-leaving palace bestowed upon her the energy universe technique, which made her even more ambitious. With the support of the soul-leaving palace and the energy universe technique, she could lead the Sea Serpent clan and make a comeback. She could still dominate the world. Of course, before that, she wanted to complete the soul-leaving palace's mission, even though she didn't know why the soul-leaving palace wanted her to go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire. "Sister, what are you doing here instead of flying around with Yang Dingtian?" Queen Hyexian asked. Poison Shah said, "Then tell me first, how did you escape from the energy prison?" Hyexian said, "Tell me, and I'll tell you." Poisa was silent for a moment before saying, Naga Shuang kidnapped Yang Dingtian. Hai Xian trembled when she heard this. What? Yang Dingtian was actually kidnapped by Naga. Although she knew that there was already a gap between Naga and Yang Dingtian, she didn't expect them to turn hostile and kidnap Yang Dingtian. Hai Xian said, Then why didn't you go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire immediately? Poisa said, Now, it's your turn to answer my question. Hai Xian was silent for a moment before looking at Poisa and saying, Sister, I once wanted to kill you. Do you hate me? Poisa frowned and said, Answer my question. You don't hate me. Hai Xian said, I know. Otherwise, you wouldn't have saved my life. Sister, I used to hate you very much, but I don't hate you now. You and I are sisters. We are the only family in this world. We should rely on each other. Poisa's beautiful eyes trembled and then said, Quickly answer my question. How did you escape from the energy prison? Hai Xian said, Sister, I hated you before because I was jealous of you. I was jealous that you were stronger than me. I was jealous that you went to the soul-leaving palace. Now I don't hate you because I've also experienced what you've experienced. Poisa said impatiently and coldly, Don't talk nonsense. Tell me, how did you escape from the energy prison? Queen Poisa didn't finish and immediately understood Hai Xian's words. She said with a trembling voice, You also went to the soul-leaving palace? Hai Xian nodded and said, Yes, sister. Poisa said, The soul-leaving palace also made you pregnant? Hai Xian shook her head and said, No. The soul-leaving palace gave me a cultivation method and something else injected into my brain. However, I still don't know what it is. I will only know if it unlocks itself. Queen Poisa said, Then you came here because of the soul-leaving palace's order? Queen Hai Xian nodded and said, Yes. Poisa said, Then what order did the soul-leaving palace give you? Queen Hai Xian said, Go to the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Poisa's beautiful eyes lit up and said, Did the soul-leaving palace know that Yang Dingtian was kidnapped by the Naga and sent us to save him? Poisa said, But with just the two of us, we are no match for the Naga Shuang. Queen Hai Xian said, The soul-leaving palace is omnipotent. As long as we follow its orders and instructions, we should be able to achieve anything. Poisa said, But we can't even go to the ruins of the Naga Empire now because the crystal ball that opened the energy passage was destroyed. Moreover, we don't have spatial techniques. Hai Xian said, I can repair the crystal ball. Poisa said in surprise, Really? Then she took out a box and opened it. Inside were fragments of the crystal ball. This was an extremely precise energy body. Once it was broken, there was basically no possibility of repairing it. However, the energy universe technique was an exception. It could completely repair the crystal ball without any cracks. All the fragments are here? Queen Hai Xian said. From what I remember, this crystal ball was very big. Poisa said, It's all here. I've pieced it together. Not a single fragment is missing. The Naga Shuang must have shrunk it. Queen Hai Xian took the crystal ball fragments and held them in her palm. Then, she began to use the energy universe technique. Instantly, the entire hall suddenly darkened. Only Queen Hai Xian's body lit up and emitted a green light. Then, countless strands of energy floated out of her body and entered the crystal ball fragments. Suddenly, a miraculous scene appeared. These strands of energy pieced the crystal ball fragments together bit by bit. Just like that, Queen Hai Xian used the energy universe technique to repair the entire crystal ball inch by inch. After a full hour, the crystal ball, which was half the size of a palm, was almost complete. There was only one crack left. At this time, Queen Hai Xian had almost exhausted all her internal force. Her face was pale and weak. She originally wanted to use the last of her energy to repair the last crack in the crystal ball. However, after a slight hesitation, she put the crystal ball down and said, There's still one last crack. My internal force has been exhausted. Let's recover it first. Poisa took the crystal ball. She was in disbelief. Then she injected her internal force and consciousness. She realized that it was useless. There was still one last crack in the crystal ball. Queen Hyexian sat down cross-legged. She inhaled and exhaled to recover her internal force. After a full few hours, Hyexian's internal force was completely recovered. She picked up the crystal ball again and used the energy universe technique to repair the last crack. In an instant, the entire crystal ball was completely intact. Inside, light flashed once again. It was as bright and mysterious as the countless stars in the universe. Then, Hyexian tried to inject her internal force and consciousness. She wanted to open an energy channel. But it was a pity that it still didn't work. Even though she had learned the Naga's exclusive energy universe technique, it still didn't work. Suddenly, she felt indignant and angry in her heart. She handed the crystal ball to Queen Poisa and said, "You are the successor of the Sea Serpent Empire. Open the energy channel." Poisa nodded. She took the crystal ball and injected her internal force and consciousness. In an instant, the entire palace began to tremble violently. Then, the ground in the center of the main hall collapsed again. Boom, boom, boom. A circular crack appeared in the center of the main hall that was tens of thousands of meters long. Then, an incomparably mysterious and beautiful ray of light suddenly shot out from the crack. The energy channel that led to the ruins of the old Naga Empire was opened again. Seeing this scene, Hyexian's gaze towards Poison Sha could not help but be filled with jealousy and hatred. At this time, Poisa was already focused on injecting her internal force and consciousness into the crystal ball. Whoosh! Queen Hyexian jumped into the energy channel. Then, she didn't know what she was thinking. The moment she jumped into the energy channel, she suddenly shot out a burst of energy and hit the crystal ball. Bang! Suddenly, the crystal ball was completely shattered again. Queen Poisa couldn't help but exclaim. Then, she saw that the energy channel disappeared from the main hall. As for Hyexian, she had disappeared without a trace. The crystal ball was destroyed, so the entrance to the energy channel disappeared. However, the energy channel was still there and would not disappear. Queen Hyexian shuttled quickly in the energy channel, shuttling. After an unknown amount of time, this shuttling finally ended. Whoosh! Her figure was suddenly thrown out of the energy channel. In front of her was the ruins of the old Naga Empire. The green ruins of the Naga Empire were like a beautiful and strange planet in the starry sky. Her entire body was exuding an incomparably powerful energy aura. Poisa knew that this was the most powerful energy environment in the entire world. If she were to devour energy here, her cultivation would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Why did the soul-leaving palace order her to come here? Could it be that they wanted her to cultivate here so that her cultivation could reach the peak that the Sea Snake clan could reach? Or did they want her to save Yang Dingtian? This was impossible. With Hyexian's current cultivation, it was completely impossible to save Yang Dingtian from the Naga. Bang! Queen Hyexian landed directly on the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Next, Queen Hyexian stood motionless, waiting for a new order to unlock in her brain. Sure enough, a new order came. In the ruins, find an energy storm entrance and jump down. It was actually this order. Hyexian was shocked. Why was this? Jumping into the energy storm entrance, was it to save Yang Dingtian? Or was it because of other reasons? What a fog! Endless mystery. Chapter 1148. However, Queen Hyexian firmly believed in the soul-leaving palace's orders. She began to carefully walk on the ruins, looking for a crack in the energy storm. For some reason, the ruins of the old Naga Empire had entered a relatively stable period. The previous collapses, tearing, and so on had completely disappeared. The upheaval in the ruins seemed to have temporarily stopped. Otherwise, Queen Seaheart, who had never been to the ruins of the abyss before, would have long since run into a storm, a collapse of energy, or an explosion. Of course, Yang Dingtian and Naga Shuang were nowhere to be seen. Hai Xian searched and searched but still could not find any energy storm. Later, she simply flew in the air and searched. It was really strange that there was not a single crack in the ruins, as if it had become a complete crystal planet. Of course, Queen Hai Xian did not know this and thought that this was normal. Just like that, day after day passed. Even though there were still no energy storms or cracks, Suyu was still in a daze. However, Hai Xian could clearly feel that the energy field of the ruins was becoming more and more oppressive and dignified. This was not a feeling, but a real presence. It was like the silence before the storm. The oppressive feeling of thousands of layers of dark clouds. The feeling of energy gradually accumulating and condensing. That's right, brewing and accumulating. Previously, the ruins of the old Naga Empire had an energy storm every day, and there were cracks and collapses every day, dozens, hundreds, or even more. Every collapse and explosion was a huge release of energy. This caused the internal energy field of the ruins to enter a new temporary equilibrium. However, this time, there was no upheaval for a few days and nights. This was, of course, abnormal. At this time, Naga Shuang, who was madly devouring in the depths of the ruins, also clearly felt a sense of horror and oppression. Previously, every time she devoured celestial chi crystals in the energy cave, it would take 10 days. Then, a huge hole would immediately appear, and a huge energy storm would be generated. Now, this energy cave had been devouring for a month. Over the past month, hundreds of thousands of Xian Qi crystals had been produced. This might seem like a good thing, but it was actually a fatal crisis. Moreover, she could feel that the entire ruins of the old Naga Empire had not changed for a whole month. No one knew better than Naga Shuang how terrible this was. This ruin was the largest and most powerful energy body in the Chaos world. It was enough to destroy the current human kingdoms dozens of times over. Moreover, the energy conflict within the ruins was incomparably huge. Only by collapsing and exploding every day could the excess energy be released. However, at this time, there was no explosion or collapse for an entire month. No energy leaked out of the ruins. What kind of fatal crisis was this? This meant that an unprecedented energy storm was brewing inside the ruins. Therefore, any conflicting energy would be devoured. As for the energy storm, it was still brewing. Once this energy storm erupted, what would the consequences be? The Naga Shuang could hardly imagine it. Perhaps it would lead to the complete destruction of the entire ruins of the old Naga Empire. In this case, her great cause of breaking through to the demigod level would be officially over. Moreover, in the face of such a drastic change in the ruins, she was completely unable to stop it. Everything was up to fate. Therefore, she simply closed her eyes and continued to devour hundreds of thousands of Xian Qi crystals. And Yang Dingtian was still passively devouring countless Xian Qi in her stomach. The energy field of the ruins of the old Naga Empire became more and more oppressive and solidified. Queen Hai Xian had completely felt a kind of suffocating horror. It had been a full 15 days since she came to the ruins. There was still no crack or energy storm. She found that the ruins of the old Naga Empire had been rotating, but the speed of rotation was getting slower and slower. Finally, it was completely still. Yes, the rotation of the ruins was completely exquisite. Finally, Queen Hai Xian came to an incomparably huge crystal plain. As mentioned before, the ruins of the old Naga Empire were like an irregular crystal planet with many sides. However, the crystal plain in front of her had never been seen before. The flat surface spanning thousands of miles was all crystal stones as smooth as jade, like a huge mirror. Not to mention any bumps, there was not even a grain. The plain spanning thousands of miles was completely like a green mirror. Then, Queen Hai Xian discovered in horror. In the center of the plain, there was a black dot, a very small black dot. Following that, the black dot continued to grow bigger, 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 from a few meters, to dozens of meters, hundreds of meters, thousands of meters, tens of thousands of meters. The entire black dot turned into an incomparably huge black hole vortex. A crazily rotating black hole vortex. Everyone knew that an incomparably terrifying energy was brewing inside. Any expert who entered would be torn to pieces and turned into ashes. At this time, Queen Hyaxian's soul-leaving palace order was activated again in her mind. Fly to the center of the black hole vortex and jump down. The Sea Heart Queen's heart trembled. If she jumped down like this, she would definitely die. However, this doubt only lasted for a moment. Queen Hyaxian flew directly towards the center of the huge black hole vortex. She absolutely worshipped and believed in the soul-leaving palace. Her body was like a speck of dust in front of the huge black hole vortex. After a while, she flew above the black hole vortex. At this time, there was no gravitational force above the vortex. It was completely zero gravity. This scene was incomparably spectacular. Queen Hyaxian, who was like a speck of dust, floated above the huge black hole vortex. Jump down! In her mind, an order was given. Whoosh! The Queen of the Sea Heart, with incomparable determination, jumped into the center of the dark vortex. In an instant, her dust-like body flew directly into the black dot in the center of the vortex and disappeared without a trace. Then, the entire black hole vortex seemed to have reached its limit in an instant. Even a speck of dust broke the huge balance within. Therefore, Hyaxian's speck of dust was like a detonator. Boom, boom, boom! An earth-shattering explosion. The ruins of the old Naga Empire, which was like a planet, were violently torn apart from the middle. Boom, 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 boom. This largest and most concentrated energy body in history was fiercely torn apart. Naga Durga Xuan gathered all the energy to build layers of energy shields to protect herself and Yang Dingtian, resisting the shocking catastrophe. Hyaxian did not die. Just now, the energy generated by the explosion of the 1,000-mile black hole vortex was enough to destroy the entire land of the human countries. However, Hyaxian was not affected at all. It was as if she had entered a bizarre world of light and land. The earth-shattering explosion and the earth-shattering energy seemed to have pushed her into another space. Around her was a completely dark void. However, there were countless flashes of light. She didn't know if the void around her was moving or if her body was moving. In short, it was moving rapidly. Every second, it could be hundreds or thousands of miles. In short, she had never experienced such a scene. This feeling was like in the illusion of the taboo continent. After completing each stage, in the hall with dense xianqi, the surrounding illusion would be constantly shuttling back and forth. The entire floating hall would be shuttling back and forth in the dark void, heading to the next stage of the continent illusion. The only difference was that in the void of the taboo continent illusion, she could see the figure of the fallen black dragon, but she couldn't see it now. This shuttling went on for an unknown period of time. Perhaps a few hours, perhaps longer, or perhaps just a moment. Hyaxian felt her figure shuttling back and forth continuously. She didn't even know how far she was from the ruins of the old Naga Empire. Perhaps hundreds of thousands of miles, perhaps hundreds of thousands of miles? Suddenly, bang, 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 all the illusions in the surrounding space disappeared. What replaced them was a completely silent night sky. That's right, it was a real night sky. The surroundings were still empty, and there was no gravity. Looking up, it was a sky full of stars. Hyaxian was puzzled. Where is this? In the explosion of the ruins just now, the black hole vortex had thrown her out of many spaces and arrived here. It seemed to be the starry sky outside the chaotic world. Could it be that she had already left the chaotic world? Just like, if the energy was enough, the rockets on Earth could send people into outer space. Queen Hyaxian looked at the stars in the sky in a daze. It seemed to be very close and within reach, but also seemed to be very far and unreachable. At this moment, the command of the soul-leaving palace sounded in her mind again. Look down! Hyaxian looked down. Suddenly, she saw a huge vortex again. Her vision was filled with endless thick fog. The whole world was filled with thick fog. Only in the center was an energy vortex that was tens of thousands of meters wide. It was constantly rotating, dark and gorgeous, and it was a fatal attraction. It was also a vortex, but it was definitely not the vortex of the old Naga Empire. Inside is the isolated new Naga. Fly in. In Queen Hai-Xian's mind, a new command was unlocked. Then, Queen Hai-Xian's delicate body almost trembled. This was actually the new Naga. The new Naga that Yang Dingtian had been to. Suddenly, she flew towards the center of the vortex with great excitement. At the same time, the tearing and explosion of the old Naga Empire continued. Naga Shuang was far away from the explosion, but she was still affected by the terrible impact. The energy shield she had built was torn apart layer by layer. Not only that, deep in her body, there was a sudden throbbing. Then, a surge of emotion surged forth like a tidal wave. Naga actually entered the cycle of emotions at this time. Chapter 1149. Damn it, she was actually aroused at this time. Naga were different from humans and fox demons. Even the sea serpent Naga was different from the mermaid Naga. It was common knowledge that snakes were evil by nature. Everyone on Earth knew this. However, when two snakes were in the process of bonding, they must not be disturbed. Otherwise, they would definitely fight to the death. Of course, Poisa and Queen Hai-Xian's Naga clan were born specifically to give birth to Naga, so they could still resist in this aspect. This was especially so for the female Naga clan. After completely transforming into human form, they were almost completely restrained in terms of sexual desire. They kept brewing until the moment of giving birth to Naga would be completely released. Naga, on the other hand, had already reached the level of a supreme being. There was no need for them to suppress themselves. Moreover, once Naga entered the estrus period, it meant that the cycle of male and female mating had begun, which meant that they would become stronger. Therefore, Naga clan did not suppress their desires. Instead, they saw it as a good time. However, that was when the Naga Empire was complete. Now, for Naga Shuang, it meant disaster. This was because once the emotions were triggered, her rationality would gradually be destroyed. Moreover, Yang Dingtian was now in her stomach. If they wanted to mate, they could do so at any time. Once they mated, Naga Shuang would lose almost half of her energy. It was not easy for her to cultivate to the level she was at today. Once she lost half of her energy, she might lose the chance to break through to the demigod level forever. Therefore, Naga Shuang had been preparing for this moment. Once she entered the estrus period, she would use all her energy to imprison herself and suppress the tide-like thoughts. Then, she would endure endless pain to get through this first cycle. But now, the entire ruins were collapsing. She had to use her energy to resist the damage caused by the collapse of the ruins. How could she use the energy to suppress herself? Boom, 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 boom. The shocking explosions in the ruins of the old Naga Empire continued. Each explosion was far more powerful than the nuclear bombs on Earth. Naga Shuang had to use every ounce of energy to construct an energy shield to mitigate the damage from the explosion. Therefore, evil thoughts surged from the depths of her body. Like a huge wave, they attacked her rationality layer by layer. Naga Shuang desperately clenched her teeth to resist. No, he had to forcibly hold it in. Otherwise, all his efforts would be for naught. He would lose half of his energy, and never be able to break through to demigod. Naga Shuang gritted her teeth and used all of her willpower to suppress the attack. At the same time, Queen Hai-Xian was getting closer and closer to the vortex entrance in New Naga. Then, she once again felt the suffocating devouring power. Without the slightest hesitation or fear, Queen Sihart charged in. Almost instantaneously, Hai-Xian felt like she was about to be smashed into pieces and turned into ashes. Soon, she felt that her body no longer belonged to her. Following that, she felt that her spiritual consciousness no longer belonged to her. Then, she didn't know anything. She completely lost all of her consciousness. It was no different from being dead. Queen Sihart had never been so close to death before, so close to death, so close to death. The feeling this time was exactly the same as death. Therefore, when Hai Xian opened her eyes again, she really felt like she was alive again. The last time Yang Dingtian woke up, it was in Queen Lan Qi's palace. This time, the first thing Queen Hai Xian saw when she woke up was a huge golden room. The entire room was empty. She got up from the huge bed and found that her legs were gone. Instead, they had turned into a snake's tail. After a brief moment of shock, she slithered to the window and looked outside. What a beautiful scenery! This was a beautiful grassland with lush green grass and clusters of flowers. In the distance, mountains rose and fell. And one after another, golden pyramids sat on the grassland. The pyramids of various sizes rose and fell densely, making the city on the grassland look particularly spectacular. At this moment, the door was opened, and 2 female snakes slithered in. Queen Hai Xian realized that these 2 female snakes no longer had obvious human characteristics. Other than having hands and a vague human face, they were all snakes. Even their faces had very few human characteristics. Whether it was the eyes or lips, they were more like snakes than humans. And their noses only had 2 holes and no bridge. "Honorable guest, congratulations on waking up," the 2 female snake maids said. At this moment, a new order was unlocked in Queen Hai Xian's mind. "Meet the human Wen Tian!" The soul-leaving palace had summoned Hai Xian step by step to come to New Naga to meet the human Wen Tian. Immediately, Hai Xian said, "May I ask where this is?" The female snake maid said, replying to the guests, "This is the old capital of New Naga." The old capital of New Naga, the world of the conservatives, the world of the descendants of the sea snake, the world of the Naga. A few years ago, Yang Dingtian came to New Naga and happened to meet the leader of the sea snake descendants, Bui Cao, who rebelled and attacked the new capital to overthrow Queen Lan Qi. He also opened the scripture pavilion and obtained the greater space technique. At that time, before the Naga Empire was destroyed, they used their energy and life to create a confinement space to avoid the great Nirvana destruction. Not only that, the Naga also modified their descendants, changing from direct energy devouring to a spiritual breakthrough. Then, this new batch of Naga lived in the confinement space and created New Naga. However, more than 10,000 years had passed. In the spiritual energy civilization, the later generations of Naga had never achieved a breakthrough. The following generations of Naga were degenerating. Therefore, the entire New Naga was already impatient. They couldn't wait for the day of the spiritual energy breakthrough. They wanted to break through the confinement space and occupy the great world outside. And the new Naga of the sea snake descendants were even more ambitious in this aspect. They wanted to break through the confinement space and take over the entire chaotic world. Because New Naga had completely made them lose any chance to break through. Here, their cultivation had already reached the limit, and generation after generation was degenerating. They needed energy. They couldn't wait for the spiritual energy breakthrough, Queen Hai Xian said. "I want to see the human, Wen Tian." The female snake maid bowed and said, "You want to see our military advisor?" Hai Xian was stunned. The human, Wen Tian, was actually the military advisor here? Queen Hai Xian nodded and said, "Yes, please go and inform him." "Yes." One of the female snake maids slithered out. New Naga was very big, but a considerable portion of the sea snake descendants lived in the old capital of Naga. After Bui Cao was defeated, his younger brother, Bo Yiming, took over as the leader of the sea snake descendants in New Naga. Bui Cao was an infatuated and heroic leader. His younger brother, Bo Yiming, was only left with coldness. Many people felt that he was more like the leader of the Viper clan. A completely poisonous snake, sinister and dangerous. About 2 hours later, Queen Hai Xian's door was opened once again. The person who pushed the door open was a handsome middle-aged man. He wasn't very handsome, but he was very delicate. Moreover, his entire body was filled with an aura that made people feel close to him. Queen Hai Xian had seen the demon king Wen Tian before. Moreover, she had seen 2 of them. The first was the demon king Wen Tian on the throne of darkness. The second was the demon king who had fused with Su Yan. These two demon king made people feel incomparably powerful and dangerous at a glance, as if they were creatures from the depths of hell. As for this Wentian in front of her, he was like a scholar. She didn't feel any sense of danger from him. After seeing Queen Hyaxian, the human Wentian revealed a trace of amazement. He bowed and said, "I heard that esteemed guest wants to see me." Hyaxian had never seen Wentian being so refined and courteous. Queen Hyaxian bowed and said, "Queen Hyaxian of the Naga race greets the Demon King Wentian." "Demon King?" Wentian was slightly stunned. "Oh, Demon King! It's been too long. I almost forgot about this matter." "Madam, where are you from?" Queen Hyaxian said. "I'm from the human countries." Wentian said. "Human countries? Then do you know Yang Dingtian? How is he now?" Instantly, Queen Hyaxian felt a sense of absurdity in her heart. In the human countries, the Demon King and Yang Dingtian were mortal enemies. But here, when Wentian talked about Yang Dingtian, it was as if he was an old friend. Also, Hyaxian could tell that Wentian's feelings of closeness towards Yang Dingtian weren't fake. Hyaxian instantly said, "Oh, he's still fine. It's just that your clones aren't doing so well." Wentian said, "Oh? What's going on?" Hyaxian said, "No matter if it's Eternal Life Wentian, or the Demon King Wentian, or even Wentian, who fused with Su Yen, they were all defeated and killed by Yang Dingtian." Wentian was stunned. He said, "Little friend, Yang Dingtian has actually become so powerful?" Hyaxian was astonished. "Your focus is actually here? At this moment, shouldn't you be concerned about your clones? Your plans from 200 years ago have all been destroyed. The Empire of Darkness and the Little Western Paradise have both fallen. The destruction of the Underworld Empire is only a matter of time. You're not concerned about these things, but you're praising Yang Dingtian for becoming so powerful? What's your standpoint?" And at this moment, a new command was unlocked in Queen Hyaxian's mind. Pass the greater spatial technique to Wentian. Queen Hyaxian was completely stunned. Greater spatial technique? How could she have the greater spatial technique, at this moment, in the ruins of the old Naga Empire? The destruction was still ongoing. Naga Shuang could no longer suppress it. Boom, 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 boom. Her rationality and willpower had been completely destroyed by her emotions. Chapter 1150. Once Naga lost her rationality, no one could stop her from doing anything. Back then, Naga Shuang had not completely transformed. Once she lost her rationality, she almost bit Yang Dingtian to death. Back then, Dugu Shuang'er was extremely infatuated with Yang Dingtian. Now, Naga's will dam had been completely destroyed by her desire. She only wanted to do one thing, and that was to have sex with Yang Dingtian to vent all the desires in her heart. No one could stop her. But now, once she had sex, it meant that she had lost the chance to break through to the demigod realm. Of course, now that the ruins had exploded, it might be impossible for her to break through to the demigod realm. Roar! Naga Shuang suddenly roared. Then, she turned into a ray of light and tore open her energy shield, rushing out from the depths of the ruins. The huge Naga's body suddenly rushed into the ruins and into the earth-shattering explosion. In an instant, her body was almost completely swallowed by the dazzling explosion. "Tell me, how did Yang Dingtian defeat my clones?" Wentian asked excitedly. The Sea Heart Queen was completely flabbergasted. Where are you from?" Although she was puzzled, Queen Hyaxian still told him in detail how Yang Dingtian defeated the Demon King. She told him everything, from the Doomsday Battle to the destruction of the Demon King Su Yentian. The Sea Heart Queen spoke for over an hour during the entire process. Wentian's questions were very detailed, and he kept asking about Yang Dingtian's situation. He seemed to be interested in the Demon King's situation. Bias, the human Wentian said. Some gods are really biased. You made Yang Dingtian so awesome and made me so miserable. We all transmigrated from Earth. Then, Wentian laughed. However, little brother Yang Dingtian is indeed stronger than me. He is stronger than me. Queen Hai Xian was even more confused. Was Wentian an enemy or a friend? Then, Wentian said, "In other words, Yang Dingtian has completely won?" Queen Hai Xian said, "Yes, but he was kidnapped by the Naga Dugu." Naga. The human Wentian laughed coldly. "Another real Naga. What are they trying to do?" Then, Wentian said, "In other words, the days in the human world, and Yang Dingtian has basically lost his goal." Queen Hai Xian was stunned again. This Wentian in front of her, the questions he asked were all so unique. Moreover, the point of entry was really strange. Queen Hai Xian said, "That should be the case. For now, Yang Dingtian no longer has any enemies. If there were any, it would be the Naga Dugu Shuang." Wentian said, "The Naga Shuang will not become her enemy. They are incomparably loyal to their partners." Queen Hai Xian said, "But there is already a gap between her and Yang Dingtian. Moreover, the reason why Naga are so loyal to their partners is because they share life and energy. It has nothing to do with feelings." Wentian said with a hint of mockery. "What do you know?" These words caused Queen Hai Xian to feel somewhat embarrassed. The man in front of her was so amiable that it made her feel as if she was bathing in the spring breeze. But when he said such impolite words, it was rather abrupt. Queen Hai Xian said, "Your Excellency Wentian, don't you want to take revenge for your clones?" "Revenge?" Wentian said, "I'm not dead. Why should I take revenge?" Queen Hai Xian said, "Don't you want to defeat Yang Dingtian? Don't you hate him to the bone?" Wentian said, "Your words are really laughable. Yang Dingtian and I both came from Earth. We met an old friend in a foreign land. When he came to the new Naga Empire, we drank and bragged together. We were so happy. Why should I hate him?" Instantly, Queen Hai Xian was completely confused. Wentian and Yang Dingtian were the greatest enemies. He actually didn't hate Yang Dingtian. Hai Xian said, "Don't tell me you don't intend to defeat Yang Dingtian and eliminate Yang Dingtian?" Wentian's expression instantly turned serious. He said, "Madam Hai Xian, there's a need for me to make things clear to you. My dream, my lifelong goal, is to defeat the primal chaos god, the primal chaos god who shamelessly manipulated my fate. As for Yang Dingtian, we are comrades. We are each other's only kin in this world." Hai Xian coldly laughed. "But don't forget that Yang Dingtian is the representative of the primal chaos god. No, he is the same as me. We are both chess pieces controlled by the primal chaos god." Wentian said, "That shameless primal chaos god, that disgusting thing, manipulated my fate and his. Therefore, I am the same as Yang Dingtian." Hai Xian was stunned. "That means to say, you have given up on everything. You don't intend to do anything?" Wentian said, "Why do you have such a ridiculous thought? My will has never changed. I want to completely destroy the primal chaos god." Hai Xian said, "You don't intend to become the ruler of this world and replace the primal chaos god? Ridiculous." Wentian's lips twitched. Hai Xian said, "But your clone in the human countries has always wanted to replace the primal chaos god and become the ruler of this world." Wentian said, "That can only prove that his brain is damaged. That's why he would have such a stupid thought." Hai Xian looked at Wentian. This was the first time she truly looked at this person. After that, Hai Xian asked, "Why is the thought of becoming the ruler of this world a stupid one?" Wentian said, "Do you know what's the most important thing if you want to defeat the primal chaos god?" "What?" Hai Xian asked. "Be bold and confident." Wentian said, "Don't be fooled by the primal chaos god. The moment the greedy thoughts of becoming the ruler of this world and replacing the primal chaos god appear, you have already fallen into the hands of the primal chaos god. How can you win?" Hai Xian fell silent. Wentian said, "Go and ask Yang Dingtian again. Would he want to become stronger? Would he have a greedy heart for power?" Hai Xian asked. "In that case, how do you think we can defeat the primal chaos god? Can you do it?" Of course, Wetian said. Create a great nirvana calamity and destroy the entire primal chaos world. Then, you will perish together with the primal chaos god. Wetian said it in a very casual manner. Hai Xian said in astonishment. Everything you do is to perish together with the primal chaos god? That's right, Wentian said. Then, what benefits would that bring you? Hai Xian asked. That way, I will be able to defeat the primal chaos god, Wentian said. Hai Xian asked. But you will also die. You won't be able to enjoy the fruits of victory, right? Wentian said. So what? Someone is controlling my fate and fooling me. I will kill him and perish together with him. What's wrong with that? Hai Xian was stunned. This didn't seem right no matter how she looked at it. Seeing Hai Xian's astonished expression, Wentian sighed. You don't understand. God once controlled our fate. Of course, we failed and became a tragedy of our generation. But it doesn't matter. At the very least, everyone has fought for a noble dream. After 10 years in the countryside, I finally managed to get into Peking University when I was 30 years old. My wife and I lived happily together, and even gave birth to a beautiful daughter. How good are my days now? That damned primal chaos god, what right does he have to drag me to this world? My daughter isn't even a year old yet. If he drags me here, what about my wife and daughter? Wentian drew in a deep breath and continued. Also, it's one thing to drag me here, but what right does he have to treat me as a stepping stone? Do you think I'm a fool? I'm not a puppet. I'm a proletarian warrior who has been taught. Although my faith is already riddled with holes, but forget it, it's useless to say all this to you. What do you know? Hai Xian didn't understand, but she could tell that Wentian was looking down on her. Also, when she was being looked down on, she didn't have much will to resist. However, if Wentian wanted to perish together with the entire world, Hai Xian would also be destroyed. How did you come here? Wentian asked. Hai Xian instantly sank into hesitation. Without the void-rending flame, she wouldn't be able to come here. Also, the reason why Wentian was able to rise up and escape the fate of being destroyed was also because of the soul-departed hall. From the start to the end, the soul-departed hall had always played the role of the primal chaos god's enemy. Hence, she spoke the truth. The soul-departed hall asked me to come here. Oh, the soul-departed hall. Wentian faintly replied. The soul-departed hall that allowed me to escape the destruction of the previous world. What did they ask you to bring? The greater spatial technique. Queen Hai Xian replied. Wentian continued. Oh, they only passed the greater spatial technique to me after Yang Dingtian obtained complete victory? It was hard to tell if these words were praise or derision. Following which, he stretched out his hand and said, In that case, pass the greater spatial technique to me. Queen Hai Xian replied. Actually, I also don't know where the greater spatial technique is. Right at this moment, a large amount of data suddenly surged out from her brain. Give me a blank energy scroll. Queen Hai Xian suddenly spoke in a mechanical voice. Wentian went to retrieve a blank energy scroll and passed it to Queen Hai Xian. Instantly, Queen Hai Xian's body seemed to have been fixed in place. Countless amounts of information surged out from her brain. Borrowing her profound energy, they unceasingly wrote on the blank energy scroll. Layer after layer. Layer after layer. Countless amounts of information, countless numbers of codes. There were over 100 million codes. Layer after layer, it took her a full hour to finish writing on this blank energy scroll. After which, Queen Hai Xian directly collapsed onto the ground. The profound energy in her body was completely exhausted. Even though the greater spatial technique was personally written by her. However, she didn't even know half of the code. After writing it, it didn't even leave a trace in her brain. It was only borrowing her hand. At this moment, Queen Hai Xian couldn't help but feel a wave of sorrow. So, the soul-leaving palace was only looking for her as a tool. However, being a tool once in exchange for the energy universe technique was still worth it. Wentian slightly sensed the energy within the energy scroll. He discovered that there were many codes written on it, but there wasn't enough energy. In other words, this energy scroll was only a half-finished product. The runes within were still empty. There wasn't enough profound energy to change the learner's profound veins. It was unable to cleanse the entire energy sea and profound veins. In other words, if he took this energy scroll over, he wouldn't be able to learn it directly. Thinking about it, it was normal. Queen Hai Xian's cultivation was merely at the peak of the half-sage realm. How could she have enough energy to write a scroll like the Greater Spatial Technique? Next, he still needed to take this energy scroll and inject enough profound energy into it. Wentian closed his eyes and began to ponder and hesitate. Should he let the new Naga come out of the imprisonment space and invade the human countries? Of course, he knew that once these hundreds of thousands of sea snake descendants entered the human countries, not a single blade of grass would survive. Humans would all die. Then, this group of new Naga would walk down the same path as before. They would transform the entire human countries into a complete energy environment. Then, they would overdraft the only life force in the primal chaos world. Finally, the great destruction would come. It wouldn't even take a few hundred years for this group of Naga descendants to destroy the entire primal chaos world. At that time, he would truly perish together with the god of chaos. However, once these hundreds of thousands of new Naga descendants entered the human countries, they would kill all humans, including Yang Dingtian and his family. This was the only reason why he was hesitating. The nihility Piaoling that he cared about previously was already dead. In the human countries, there was no one he cared about anymore. Yang Dingtian could barely be considered half a person. As for the deep feelings between him and Yang Dingtian, that might not be the case. But after all, they were all from Earth. It was truly a meeting of old friends in a foreign land. Otherwise, after Yang Dingtian passed away, he would let these new Naga invade the human countries. At most, he would wait for a few decades. This was not a big deal. However, now the situation had changed. A real demigod Naga had appeared, and she was Yang Dingtian's partner. Once this Naga Shuang'er broke through to the demigod realm, she would mate with Yang Dingtian. This meant that there would be two demigods. Then, it would be enough to resist the invasion of new Naga. Of course, it seemed ridiculous that two demigods could stop countless future Naga. But demigods were demigods. The future Naga and new Naga would never be able to break through to demigod. In the face of a real demigod, they would not be able to fight back. Therefore, once Yang Dingtian and Naga Shuang broke through to demigod, the invasion of new Naga would definitely fail. Then, his plan to destroy the god of chaos would go up in smoke. Sigh. The human Wentian sighed and said, Yang Dingtian, it's not that I don't want you to live a peaceful life. It's just that you don't give me the time. We are all from Earth. If we fight together and destroy the god of chaos, we will count you in. I'm sorry! Then, the human Wentian took the Greater Space Technique scroll and walked out. He walked towards the largest pyramid in the old capital. The leader of the new Naga, Bo Yiming, was there. Naga Shuang's will to break through to demigod was incomparably resolute. At the last moment, she tore open the protective shield and rushed towards the energy field that was torn apart by the explosion. She wanted to use the energy of the explosion to suppress the desire in her heart. One had to know that this could no longer be described as dangerous. This could be described as courting death. Naga Shuang was indeed immortal and indestructible. However, that was only for enemies below demigod level. The explosion and tearing of the ruins of the old Naga Empire produced enough energy to destroy the entire human kingdom. How astonishing was the energy contained within it! Now, even a demigod could directly kill Naga Shuang, let alone this earth-shattering energy. Although the explosion was coming to an end, and Naga had rushed into the edge of the explosion, it was still a narrow escape. Indeed, to Naga, there was something more important than desire. That was life and death. The powerful explosion tore open Naga's outer shell. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Naga's indestructible golden scales were instantly reduced to ashes. Naga, which was a few hundred meters long, was completely peeled off layer by layer. Incomparable pain instantly suppressed the desire in the depths of her body. She couldn't even scream. In hell, she could only watch as the powerful energy took her life. Yang Dingtian, who was in Naga's stomach, could feel her vitality rapidly draining away. For the time being, he was safe and sound, because Naga Shuang's body had shielded him from all harm. However, the moment Naga died, Yang Dingtian would also die. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Naga's body was peeled off layer by layer. After the scales, it was her flesh. After the flesh, it was her meridians. Once her meridians were completely torn apart, then Naga would die. Husband, I'm going to die. I can't protect you. Naga Shuang's voice suddenly sounded in Yang Dingtian's ears. We're probably going to die together. I don't want to, but I don't regret it. The powerful energy began to tear apart Naga's meridians. Even Yang Dingtian could clearly feel death approaching. I can't die like this. Yang Dingtian roared in his heart. He still had things to do. He couldn't die like this. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Yang Dingtian's mind moved. The soul sword, which was close to a demigod's level, suddenly shot out. Moreover, it was a sword soul with the chaos attribute. Countless energy soul swords flew out of Naga's mouth. They desperately wrapped around Naga's body, which was hundreds of meters long, to construct a new energy shield. However, it still didn't help. Although the energy of the explosion was getting smaller and smaller, it still easily tore apart Yang Dingtian's soul sword energy shield that was close to a demigod's level. However, it kept tearing apart. Yang Dingtian kept using the shield so that the powerful energy wouldn't directly attack Naga Shuang. As for whether they could survive or not, that was up to the heavens. If the explosion ended before Yang Dingtian's Emperor-grade soul sword Sea of Qi was exhausted, Naga and Yang Dingtian would be able to survive. Otherwise, they could only be reduced to ashes. Do your best and leave the rest to fate. Yang Dingtian's luck was not bad. The earth-shattering explosion suddenly came to a stop. At this time, Yang Dingtian's Chaos Emperor-grade soul sword still had 1/3 of its energy left in its Sea of Qi. Just like that, it suddenly stopped. Outside, it was completely quiet. Yang Dingtian flew out of Naga Shuang's stomach because Shuang no longer had any control over him. A scarred Naga floated in the void. Its flesh was badly mangled, and it was unknown whether it was dead or alive. Yang Dingtian, on the other hand, was completely unscathed. Even his skin wasn't broken. Chapter 1151. He looked at the battered Naga Shuang, who showed no signs of waking up. Yang Dingtian had never seen such a severe injury before. Naga's entire body was nearly peeled off while she was still alive. There were no scales, no flesh, and all that was left of her was her tendons and bones. He looked at the ruins of the old Naga Empire below. The earth-shattering explosion had lasted for a few hours. Most of the energy bodies in the ruins of the Naga Empire, which were thousands of miles in diameter, had been reduced to dust and ash. They had turned into rich celestial chi energy that drifted in the void. Less than 1/3 of the crystals in the ruins were left. Yes, less than 1/3 was left. It had gone from a crystal the size of an asteroid to a crystal the size of a comet. Yang Dingtian sighed inwardly. Perhaps Naga Shuang would never be able to break through to the demigod level. It was no wonder that Naga Shuang had raced against time to devour the energy in the ruins of the old Naga Empire, even though every time she did so, it would be a huge waste. This was because the ruins could be destroyed and collapse at any time. Therefore, in order to help Yang Dingtian, Naga had left for more than half a month. It was a huge loss in itself. Although Naga Shuang was utilitarian and cold, she was right about many things. At this time, Naga Shuang was unconscious. Yang Dingtian could easily leave. No one would restrict his freedom anymore. He could return to the human countries. Naga Shuang would never be able to enter the human countries and cause any harm. However, if he left just like that, Naga Shuang would probably die, right? Yang Dingtian might have hated Naga and had made up his mind to break off intimate relations with her, but he did not necessarily want her to die. Furthermore, during the previous calamity, if it wasn't for Naga's protection, Yang Dingtian would have already been turned into ashes and couldn't be any more dead. Therefore, it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to just leave Naga here. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian carried the unconscious Naga and slowly landed on the ruins that were less than a third of the crystal. This huge explosion seemed to have exhausted most of the conflict energy in the crystal ruin. The remaining ruins seemed to have entered a new equilibrium, so although the whole crystal was still surging, the huge collapse and energy storm were no longer there. Instead, it seemed very calm. Yang Dingtian carried Naga and began to search for the pyramid. The old Naga Empire originally had countless pyramids, but after countless collapses and tearing, there were not many pyramids left. In addition to the big explosion just now, there were even fewer complete pyramids left. After searching for several hours, Yang Dingtian finally found an entrance. This was originally a pyramid, but now it had completely collapsed into the crystal. Yang Dingtian, carrying Naga. Fortunately, the whole hall was still relatively intact, and the energy condensation array was still operating. Yang Dingtian placed Naga under the energy condensation array. Naga was indeed the most powerful creature in the world. If it was any other creature, it would have died long ago. After all, Naga had not only lost all of its scales and flesh, but also a small part of its meridians were destroyed. Placed under the energy condensation array, it actually began to recover little by little. Countless amounts of energy condensed on Naga's body, turning into new meridians, and began to recover inch by inch. However, this kind of recovery would probably take a long time. First, it would recover the meridians, then the flesh, and finally the scales. And Yang Dingtian, since he had nothing to do, sat down cross-legged and started to absorb Xian energy. Of course, with his Xian Meridian's talent, the 24th level of cultivation was already the limit, and he could not break through half a step. However, it was not bad to store it in the Qi. Time passed day by day like this. Yen and the others must be very worried. Yang Dingtian really wanted to go back and let them know that he was safe. However, although the remaining energy ruins were much calmer, it was still collapsing on a small scale. If Naga was left here without care, it would still be dangerous. Moreover, most probably everyone knew that Yang Dingtian was kidnapped by Naga Shuang, and his life would not be in danger. At this moment, the human empire was unprecedentedly quiet. The gates to the human empire were also completely closed. Hence, Yen and the children would not be in any danger. In that case, let's just stay here and wait for Naga to come back to life. Wentian arrived at the largest pyramid in the old capital. The Naga Patriarch's golden throne was located on the 99 steps of the Great Hall. His Patriarch's hall was even more majestic and magnificent than Queen Bailanchi's palace. Patriarch Boi sat high up on the golden throne, looking down at Wentian. He was slimmer than Boi, but also more handsome. His eyes were deep, and his face was long and narrow. His nose bridge was high and slightly curved, and his lips were thin and well-defined. He was a very handsome man, but also a man who looked very sinister. He was different from Boi Cao. Boi Cao liked this human very much. As for Boi, his attitude towards Wentian was cold. Even though he did not remove Wentian from his position as a strategist, he rarely summoned him, let alone asked him about his plans. Of course, Wentian also rarely took the initiative to flatter him. Even though he wasn't a true demigod, he was at least a postmodern Naga. Hence, Boi looked down on humans, treating them like ants. As for Wentian, he also looked down on Boi. The proud Wentian left the soul leaving Hall 200 years ago. After nearly 200 years of thinking, he had already rejected many things, but he had also seen through many things. Therefore, he despised the boy in front of him. He had some admiration for the loyal Queen Lan Qi and the spiritual wise men in the new Naga Empire who had been seeking breakthroughs. However, he looked down on these postmodern Naga who had returned to greed, especially the postmodern Naga who were descendants of sea snakes. Your ancestors, the true demigod Naga, were all dead. As for you postmodern Naga, you aren't even a true Naga. You will never be able to break through to become a demigod, yet you still think that you are extraordinary. What a joke. However, using you as a tool is also not bad. Releasing these foolish Nagas of the later generations to destroy the entire world and perish together with the god of chaos was also not a bad idea. Only the stupid greedy ones are the best tools to use. Human, why have you come to see me? Boy asked lazily and impatiently. He did not call him strategist, nor did he call him by his name. Instead, he called him a human. Wetian said, 10,000 years ago, Queen Medusa, who successfully escaped the great Nirvana disaster, asked someone to give me a scroll. Boy's eyes trembled. What is it? Wetian said. The greater space technique. Boy stood up in disbelief. Is it really the greater space technique? Why did his elder brother rebel? Wasn't it for the greater space technique? In the end, he was defeated and died without obtaining the greater space technique. Now, this lowly human in front of him actually said that he had the greater space technique. Boy immediately stretched out his hand. Give it to me. This greater space technique belongs to Naga. Queen Medusa is the ancestor of the Naga race. This boy's life was indeed incomparably overbearing. Wentian handed over the greater space technique scroll without hesitation. Boy pursed his lips and smiled. He opened his hand and sucked the scroll into his hand. Then he laughed. A wise man submits to circumstances. I won't forget your contribution and will reward you. Many thanks, Your Majesty. The human Wentian bowed. Boy used his spiritual sense to check the contents of the scroll. Then he said, This is a half-finished product. The energy runes inside are still empty. Wentian said, This was written by Queen Medusa using the energy of a Naga candidate. Her Xian Qi is naturally insufficient to write the entire scroll. Boy said, That's easy. I will send a few dozen elders to fill in the energy runes inside. Following which, Boy laughed coldly. Human, no wonder you are willing to give it to me. So it's useless to you. You still need me. Wentian felt disdain in his heart. However, he bowed even more humbly. Your wisdom is not inferior to Your Majesty. Boy Ming immediately waved his hand and said, All right, you can leave now. Wait for my reward. I will take my leave. Wentian left humbly. Boy said, Men, give that human Wentian a few second-generation female Naga girls. Yes, an old voice said. However, he probably can't mate with the Naga girls. Boy curled his lips. Even if he can't use the girls below, he can still use the girls above. Just give him some rewards. He is just a lowly human. Yes, the old man said. Boy stood up and flew to the elder hall with the scroll. The energy runes inside the scroll required a shocking amount of Xian Qi. Hence, it required more than a dozen elders to complete it. In the elder hall, a few dozen new Naga elders heard that Boy had obtained the greater space technique. They were extremely excited and cheered loudly. Congratulations, Your Majesty! Whoever obtains the greater space technique will be able to liberate all of the new Naga and lead the entire Naga Empire to conquer the world. He will be able to restore the glory of the old Naga Empire. The day our king obtains the greater space technique will be the day he ascends to the throne. It will also be the day Queen Lan Qi steps down. The Naga elders were all filled with ambition. There was not a moment when they didn't want to break out of this sealed space and conquer the world. Now they were finally going to get what they wanted. In the ruins of the old Naga Empire, Naga Shuang's recovery speed was much faster than Yang Dingtian had expected. In just half a month, her meridians had all recovered. Her flesh and blood had all recovered. As for the last piece of scale, it was a complete recovery. When the last piece of scale recovered, Naga opened her eyes and woke up. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.